Are we live?
We're live. All right. So, what is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson, and today is Wednesday, November the 8th, 2023, years after zero. We got a pretty fun show for you tonight. We are live in the studio right now. Hopefully everything is coming through all right. It's been a little bit since we put the whole thing up, but we're making the strides. We're going back to it, and we're cracking open beers with one of our good friends of the show. So we'll go ahead and welcome in Big Tom, Thomas Caldwell. What's going on, man?
What's up?
How's it going tonight?
Right. Hour and 21 minutes late, or 21 minutes.
Listen,
You tell me.
clocks just went back. Time just went back. We forgot to set our clocks back, so sorry about it. Here we are.
Still on analog clocks.
Yep, still on analog. My phone didn't reset. So by 6 o'clock, I really meant 7 o'clock or 6 Central Time, whichever one you want to go by.
Got a big Midwest audience.
All right, so it looks like we are live. Looks like everything's all good. Check the phone real quick. We're on YouTube. We're up and rolling. We are good to go.
This is a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, especially knowing that we're live now. So real quick, before we get started, because we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the off-road world. There's race results to talk about. There is silly season to talk about. There's the ISDE going on right now that America is, dare I say, dominating. We're going to get to that here in just a second. But before we get everything underway, I want to let you guys know, as always, Beta Motorcycles, they are the official manufacturer of On the Pipe Podcast. They have been family-owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles. Lost my train of thought now. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models, or find a dealer near you to get yours today. betausa.com. It's a dirt bike that comes with a warranty, so eases the mind. What other dirt bike comes with a warranty? I don't know. You can get your suspension already on it by the time it gets shipped to you. You can get whatever parts you want on it by the time it gets shipped to you. So betausa.com. Check them out. I got to race my Beta motorcycle the last 2 weekends. I guess I skipped a weekend in between. I kind of raced at Ironman. Didn't race at Mid-East. Then I actually raced at the Full Gas, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then also this episode is brought to you in part by our good buddy, a buddy of Tom, mine, and all of you listeners, the podcast listeners out there, Zach Tussle with Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer, and he's also a financial advisor, and he's also an expecting father. So congratulations to that one. Got a baby on the way. So with that, he can help you plan for your retirement and also just advise you on how your money can make money. Go to financialadvisorsdenvernc.com to get more information. Let Zach know you are a listener of OTP, and you can get a free consultation and hear directly from him exactly how he can help you out, how he can help you plan for the future, and what all he can do as a financial advisor with Raymond James Financial. But, all right, we're back in it. You're over there giggling. What's going on? What we got?
YouTube is already talking shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's on there?
Do you know a John Blinker?
John Blinker. I
Yep.
don't.
He said, man, Stu's getting bigger. Oh, man.
Hey, man.
We're,
They don't call you Little Tom.
nah, Big Tom. We're 3 minutes into this and already talking shit.
Well, that's all part of the game, the name of the game. Speaking of the game, let's talk about the ISDE. I guess we can start on that. It's topical. We got a few races to recap. We got National Enduro to talk about. We got Mid-East to talk about. We got Full Gas to talk about. We got some GNCC stuff to talk about. We got maybe another local series that we're going to talk briefly about.
Hey, we got to talk about it. Your boy.
I know. That's why we're going to talk about it.
Destructo.
So, the ISDE right now, there is no Australian trophy team. I didn't really know that until right now. What's the deal? I guess I just overlooked it.
I guess they too slow this year. I don't know.
With
Didn't qualify. Do you qualify for ISD? You have to, right?
so for like the club teams and stuff, you do, but for the trophy teams, they're just selective. You gotta put in an application, and then they gotta choose you from the application. As we learned from our good buddy Josh Strang, when they decided to not review his application the year he won a Sprint Enduro title in Full Gas, when Full Gas was Full Gas. So Team USA is doing crazy. So to be honest with you, I want to say the ISDE snuck up on us and creeped up on us this year, but it didn't. It's so late. Like, it's later than it always is. And so it's kind of weird dealing with it after the offseason and at this part of the year. A lot of times it's happening over summer break. So with that being said, like, ISD snuck up on us because for me it's at a different time slot than what I thought. But there is a lot more coverage of it this year, so I haven't been as compelled to keep up with it. Also got a million things going on. But
It's hard to keep up with.
it is.
It reminds me of the NEPG results. They're extremely difficult to keep up with.
Yeah. And last year there was an app, but now they got rid of the app and you can only do it on the website. But
The website is better this year than it has been.
yeah.
But it's still difficult.
So National Enduro is super hard to keep up with, especially like throughout the day and watching it live with that system that they use. But the thing about the ISDE as well is that you can see the test times, and then there's cumulative times for the day, and then there's cumulative times for the week, and then you got to go in the PDF results to see like the team times.
Yep.
So you gotta do some searching to find out what's going on.
It is. It took me a minute to figure it out, and it's almost easier to look at them on your phone, which is weird because I don't know. I haven't had any luck on the computer, but on my phone it seems to be a little bit easier to look at.
Yeah. So I don't have the individual results pulled up. Meant to pull it up on this computer, but I ended up having to run the whole stream off of this computer, so I can't do anything else on this computer.
It's all good. The only one that anybody. Well, we know who's winning the individual class.
Joseph?
Overall. Oh yeah, he's smoking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal at the sprints is
He's
Joseph.
good. He is good.
But right now, the World Trophy team is ahead by 8 minutes and 15 seconds. That's right?
That's what it says.
Are all 4 of our guys still in the top 10?
They were all in the top 10 on the last test of the day today. What that is overall, I don't know. I just know that the team is overall leading.
Yeah. So
As far as individual guys in the overall, I really don't know.
and keeping up with it from the first day. So on the trophy team, if you're not familiar with how it works, there's 4 guys on the trophy team, and the top 3 scores count. And so that means the 4th person's times for the day don't count. Our 4th person on day 1 was Johnny Gerard, who was in 8th place overall. So he put in an 8th place overall ride for the opening day of the ISDE, and it was so terrible that it didn't even count. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, for everybody except for Johnny.
No, I'm sure that Johnny's still pumped on an 8th place finish overall.
Yeah, but you don't want to go all the way over there and represent your country and your time get dropped.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I should have been checking on that from day 2 to day 3 to see whose time got dropped each day.
yeah, I really don't know.
Because Johnny, multiple time Sprint Enduro champion over here, various series, various classes. No doubt has the sprint speed, but whenever the ISDE team got released this year, it was 3 West Coast guys and then Johnny, where typically we see like 2 to 3 of the East Coast guys going, and then it's like Taylor Robert. So I thought that was interesting that it's those guys going over there this year. But then you look at the conditions in Argentina. I've been seeing it's 114 degrees up to 120 degrees, just desert, dry, dusty. And it's like that's where these West Coast guys just shine.
Yeah, it's it's definitely a West Coast type of terrain down there in Argentina. And Dylan Bean said that all scores count now.
That all 4 of them count?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So
That's live updates right now?
on the YouTube.
That was on the YouTube comments?
I would say that's a YouTube comment we could trust.
Yeah. Is Dylan there? I thought I saw he was there.
I don't know, but when he probably hears that, he'll probably answer.
Dylan, let us know.
yeah,
Are you in Argentina?
Tell us.
Or are you in South Carolina? Pretty stark difference.
Yeah.
The women's trophy team is up by 10.5 minutes, which is absolutely insane. Once again, I should have been more prepared for this, but right now I've been in rush mode trying to just get the stream up and going. So I apologize that I'm not more prepared about the up-to-date, real-time ISDE times, but I will go out on a limb and just assume that nobody's beat Brandy Richards.
It's a pretty good assumption because I think she's the one that's the anchor on the team.
Yeah. Well, I keep seeing that she's winning tests, but like the past couple years of ISDE, no one's even been able. Like you don't have to worry about a dusty track behind Brandy Richards because you're not going to be close enough to see the dust. So I would just assume that she's still undefeated on the year. If not, or she's got to be leading the overall, I would just imagine. And then the junior World Trophy team currently sits in third place. Tom, you got 6 minutes, 45 seconds here written down. Is that how far back they are?
Back from first.
Back from first.
Yep.
Okay.
I think
still in the mix.
If that's how the time works.
Josh Toth. He's been setting it ablaze, leading the way in the club team.
Yeah, I just wrote that down, but I didn't look and see if he's still leading or not. But I know the first day he was killing it.
Yeah, felt confident in it.
Posted something on. He is there. He said, "Yeah, I'm here."
Oh, so he's there.
Assume he's in.
Why don't we have Dylan Bean calling in? We need Dylan on it. Dylan, tomorrow, what are you doing? We need to sit down. We need an update. As you can see, we clearly are not in touch with what's going on down in Argentina.
I'd say he's probably busy.
Yeah, but they get some time. Because the time difference can't be much in Argentina.
Couldn't even tell you where Argentina is.
South America.
I knew that. Didn't know what time zone it's in.
So it's got to be relatively straight down from us. So I would imagine it's somewhere within the confines of America. So at most, it's 3 hours behind.
Which is for ISDEs pretty on time. Pretty close. To being in the same time zone. Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like a 9-10 hour difference, 6 hour difference over to Europe. So it's got to be a pretty close time difference. And if anything, I would say that we're ahead. So that means, Dylan, when you get done racing for the day, everyone's putting their stuff in the paddock. You know what I mean? Just give us a ring. Let us know what's going on, and then we can talk about that. Because it is very hot. Cade Henderson, I saw, ended up having to sit out from test 2. Getting close. Yeah, so that's like, that might be the same time zone.
It's pretty close.
Let me check. What time is it in Argentina right now?
It's 9:32 p.m. in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Wait, how are they ahead? This says plus 2 hours. How are they ahead? I thought they would be behind us. Whatever the case, you can see that we're a very well-researched show as it relates to the ISDE. That is why we need boots on the ground like Dylan Bean to give us a call, let us know what's going on. Cade Henderson, I saw yesterday his mom has been posting a ton of updates on Facebook, so shout out. I saw that he ended up suffering some type of heat-related illness yesterday, had to sit out test 6. Therefore, that puts him out for the week, really. You miss a test, pretty much done. So I know that he was working hard to get cleared by the doctors to continue on. But I always thought that at ISDE, if you missed a part of a day, that you were just done for the week. Like, you couldn't ride if you wanted to. Like, I think I remember Becca Sheets going over there. But I think hers might have been a mechanical. It might be different if it's mechanical.
Right. So he would have finished the day and had issues, or he didn't finish the day. What did you say?
He didn't race the final test, but it was due to medical. So I think it might have been a mechanical issue in the instance that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You're the one that I get all my ISD news from. So
usually I'm pretty well prepared on ISDE. This year, like I said, it's just, I don't know if it's the timing or what, but not nearly as prepared as I should be. But also posting updates on Facebook is Mike Toth, who is Josh and Zach Toth's father, which Zach Toth's been running really good as well.
Yeah,
but I know
whatever club team they're on is second overall right now. I noticed that.
Yeah, it's some website, Brap something. And then Josh is on the XC Gear team, who's leading the way.
Yep.
But I guess Josh got really bad sick as well
on the first day.
Yeah. And was trying to push it. I think that heat kind of caught everyone off guard.
It's got to be hard coming from here where it's been cooling down. We've had a lot of cooler temps, and going down there and getting zapped with that 112. It don't even get that hot here.
No. And like these past couple weeks, it's still like we're in November, and like at full gas, it was 85 degrees and dry and dusty.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Very uncommon for November around here. But we think about how hot it was out there, and you're like, God. And then imagine 30 degrees more.
Yeah. It wouldn't be good for me, I can tell you that.
Yeah, no. Not good for anybody. And hydration in that kind of temperature, that's not something you don't drink tonight for tomorrow. You got to be drinking like 3-4 days in advance.
Yep.
For that one.
Those are long days too, so it's not like you're going out and doing a 1 day of full gas where you do 10 tests in the same area. You got the transfers, and it's daylight to dawn. It seems like.
We are really on the ball with this one. Got a text message came through right now. Zach Toth is out.
Oh shit!
Zach Toth blew his shoulder out and is no longer in the race for this year, which is very unfortunate because he was riding good and that team was doing good as well. Yeah, I've been in the shop getting it ready, buried in everything today. So my apologies that there's so many people that are probably sitting here getting really upset.
So it sounds like
right now.
there's been quite a few rule changes to ISDE. Dylan just said, pretty sure now for World Trophy they can run any class and have multiple riders in the same class, where we used to have at least one rider in each class, and then they would count best 3 times. And Kate is also out now. So with that DNF on the medical side, that must have set him out as well.
So Cade is out.
Kate is out, and they count all scores in trophy class, and everybody can run basically whatever class they want, whether that's in the same classification or not.
I tried to pull up the YouTube comments. I just saw that guy's comment about Stu. That was kind of rude.
Right off the bat. I mean, I hadn't even had a chance to get on yet. And I get on the YouTube so I can see the comments, and the first one says Stu's gotten bigger. Well, you know what? I don't get paid to race dirt bikes, so
oh man.
Therefore, I don't get paid to stay in shape. Well, other than being around.
Oof. And time is catching up with all of us. So speaking of time, sorry that we're not up to date with the ISDE. We're gonna refocus, and then maybe later this week we'll do a recap on the ISDE and
so
be more in the know.
Got another text. Garcia is only leading by 14 seconds after day 3, and we've been instructed to get off our hands and knees, boys.
We have. Who said that?
Mr. Josh Strang.
Oh, dang it.
But Garcia's only leading by 14 seconds. That's a lot less than I would have thought.
Real quick, was there a pro rider that lives within 30 minutes of here that obviously knows more about ISDE than us that was invited to come here tonight, that was supposed to be here and was supposed to be the first guest in the studio? Does that ring a bell? Is there anybody that fits that description?
I think he just texted me.
Someone that might be watching right now, giving us information that he could be contributing to the world right now?
To the world.
In fact, one of like the best shows like download numbers that we ever had was a couple years ago when Strain came on and did the ISD recap. It was like day 3 or day 4, and Strain came on. We kind of talked about ISD and talked about his experience with it.
I guess he's just camera shy.
I guess
Bust
so.
out these cameras and people get scared.
Yeah, no, I'm just taking a piss. Let's get back to some of the racing that we missed. We'll start 2 weeks ago with the National Enduro. Stu made it 4 in a row. He took the overall win, which I guess there's no other way to say it. An abysmal start to his season. Not good. And still don't know what that was. Was it getting used to the new bike? I know he had a lot of problems with it, especially trying to settle that rear end down and get the rear end working on that bike. As he was pretty vocal about. But, I mean, we talked to him on the show and stuff, too, but, like, just not a traditional start for Stu Baylor. But then we see him come on strong in the end and win out the rest of the season pretty much after the championship was already wrapped up.
He won the first GNCC.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's coming out pretty solid.
But I think Sumter, he was 6th? Something like that?
He didn't win. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I remember when he was just getting back from his broken neck, and he got like a 5th place. He was all mad and saying he said that was the worst finish that he's had in National Enduro. And then he comes back this year and has a few outside the top 5. Few, more than one. but then wins out for the rest of the season. And with Grant getting in between him and Toth at that final round, that gave him second place overall for the year in the championship. And I think something crazy like eight or 9 straight years that someone with the last name of Baylor has won the National Enduro title,
That's wild.
which is that's crazy.
I know we've talked about it, but they got to rank up there as some of the top brothers in dirt bikes or in off-road for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's talked about it as well, but
Yeah.
it is pretty impressive.
I mean, from an overall standpoint, I mean, what brothers are more credentialed than them?
The Lawrences.
Well, yeah, I guess I was thinking more about Woods, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh, in the woods. I don't know.
the Alessis, if you're talking about moto.
I don't know. The Johnson brothers are pretty solid too. I mean,
Yeah.
for what they've done.
Let me ask you this. Let me get your opinion on something.
Oh God.
One thing that we're talking about in the form of brothers is another group of very talented off-road brothers, and that is the DeLongs. Craig DeLong coming fresh off of an XC1 overall championship. I got to hang out with Andrew and Craig quite a bit at Ironman and talk to them quite a bit, and actually had a lot of really good conversations with Andrew and Craig. But talking to them, it might have been you. Someone made the comment about like, hey, this is putting a notch towards like the best off-road brothers. But the difference is right now Grant and Stu are still racing, still in their primes, and still continuing to build that resume. Andrew DeLong has obviously been retired for a couple years, but Andrew DeLong, a national enduro champion. Craig DeLong, an XC2 champ, an XC1 champ. But what I was getting at is I don't want to downplay, and this is not at all a slight at national enduro titles or anything, not even remotely close to it. So I'm not downplaying the significance of a national enduro title because a lot of people try to do it and a lot of people don't do it. But how heavy is a GNCC overall title in comparison to a national enduro title? Because I think Stu's got, what, 5? 5 national enduro titles? 4 or 5? I think 5.
He's got a bunch.
And Grant's got 2 or 3. And then they both have an XC2 title at GNCC, but the ever-elusive XC1 title has not fallen into a Baylor Brothers' hand. So now, when you look at Craig DeLong, that XC1 title in GNCC carries a lot of weight because we've talked about it before.
A lot of weight.
These guys signed contracts for GNCC and race National Enduro as their second series. And that's how it is for everybody but Josh Toth, who signed a contract for National Enduros and then everything else that he did this year. But when you're ranking the brothers, how many National Enduro titles is an XC1 overall championship worth on the legacy board?
I don't know. I think there's a reason that contracts were signed for GNCC and not National Enduro. So I don't know. That's a good question. It's a good topic to argue. It'd be interesting to get like both sets of brothers' opinion on it.
Could you imagine that? A sit down with Andrew, Craig, Grant, and Stu,
and just hash it out.
Let them argue about it.
Yeah. That would. Oh man.
Like I said, I'm not downplaying National Enduro at all.
Craig could just sit in the background and said, "But I got the GNCC title."
Yeah.
And he could sit on that all night.
It would probably be Stu and Andrew arguing, and Craig and Grant would just be soaking it in.
Yeah.
But no, it's just one of those things I was just kind of thinking about, and then I don't know.
It's an interesting topic, for sure. I don't know how you'd classify it. I don't know how you'd weight it, but I'd say that's probably the best 2 sets of brothers in, I guess, the off-road that you cover in the East Coast stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like the Oliveras.
Yeah, they're doing pretty damn good.
They gotta be pretty high up there. Mateo and Dante Oliveira.
But see, I don't know what are the championships out there? I don't know. I mean, I know you've been wanting to cover West Coast and stuff, but I know Works back in the day was huge, and that always, when we were younger, I always thought of GNCC and works and GNCC and works. If you wasn't gonna do GNCC, you go do works. But as I've gotten older and know what's what, it doesn't seem to be that way.
Yeah, and I know, so out there, Works is big. I don't think it's as big as it used to be. And then they got National Hare and Hound, and then the AMA Big Six, which is now NGPC, National Grand Prix Championship. That's an AMA National Championship. And then I guess talking to like Mason Ottersberg, who lives out there and races out there, he won the 250 championship last year in the AMA West Hare Scrambles. I think so. But I guess from the way it sounds, I think that AMA West Hare Scramble title means a lot. I think that's one of the premier series out there.
Which is what now? What's it called? Is it still AMA West Hare Scrambles?
Yeah. You know how like out here there's AMA East?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's not nearly as big.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the OMAs? You remember those?
Mm-mm.
They used to run blue plates with yellow numbers.
Oh yeah.
Pros would run.
Yeah.
Paul Whibley used to run a lot of those.
Is that out west or is that here?
No, it's like a.
I remember hearing about it.
It's like Midwest. Like
Is that not what Thad just raced like a couple weeks ago?
I don't know. I know there's a big race in maybe in Illinois or Minnesota or somewhere with that Midwest area called the Moose Run, or I think they call it the race now.
The race?
That's what it's called.
That's pretty original.
It used to be called the Moose Run, and if you look at the people that's won it, it's a long list of very talented riders that's won it. I think Cody Barnes won it this year, but it's like out in a you start in a massive cornfield, and I think it's 3 laps or 38 miles, a 38-mile lap. So it's like a 4-hour race. I don't know anything about it, but I remember back in the day always seeing Whibley run. I always remember the yellow and blue plates, or blue and yellow plates.
Yeah.
So
I remember that to an extent. I just don't know all the details surrounding it.
Anything about it.
Yeah.
Kind of like ISDE this year.
Hey, we got a couple notes on that.
That's all right.
So yeah, that National Enduro, Stu got the win. Grant ended up coming back, getting second place, and then Josh, Toth both would round out the podium with a third place finish. And then looking over at Pro 2, Thorne Devlin took the win. Thorne's been on a tear this year, man. He's been riding good.
I think he's at ISD too, right?
Yes, he is. Don't ask me how he's doing.
Dare I ask how he's doing?
Oh, man. I should have been more prepared for this.
Yeah.
He is there. I saw him riding wheelies. Liam Draper got second place. Steve Nicholas in third place. Liam Draper, with that second place finish, wraps up the Pro 2 Championship, which, what a year for Liam Draper, man. XC2 champ follows it up with Pro 2 National Enduro champ.
Can't remember who. It might have been in our Instagram group. Something. I remember telling somebody, it might have been you, I don't know who it was, but when he switched to the Yamaha team, I remember telling somebody, I was like, I could see him having a really good year.
Yeah.
It seems to have worked out that way.
I think it also goes to, I don't think that he thought he would have lost his ride with Thiele or KTM where he was at. So I think, I don't know, and I don't want to speak for Liam, but just from an outsider's perspective, I think that was kind of a surprise about that whole situation. I know he's kind of been on the hot seat the past couple of years to produce results, and so I wonder if changing teams kind of restarted that fire, because, I mean, he's here from New Zealand, and when he's thinking about, hey, am I going to have a ride, what's going on, and really, you know what I mean, like, getting in the fire to get those results and the pressure to get those results. I wonder if that helped reinvigorate to what we've seen him do this year.
It must have. This guy has helped. Done something to him. Lit a fire in his ass or something.
But see, a guy like him, man, I haven't talked to him. Once again, this is just purely speculation, but I would imagine that he is going to race XC2 again next year.
I think he said that. I listened to something. I think he did say he was planning on defending the title. So
See, he's one of those guys that why wouldn't you move up?
I don't know who was the last one to win and move up. Bollinger? Was it that long ago?
I guess it had to have been. Because Bollinger won it, then Toth won it. Toth stayed down, Ben won it. And then Ben won twice. And then
Craig.
was Craig the next one after Ben?
I think so.
And then I think he stayed down.
He did. And then Johnny.
And he stayed down.
Yep.
And then Lyndon.
Yep.
And he stayed down, but then ended up moving up because he missed.
Is there a curse on the XC2 number 1 plate?
The last person to repeat was Ben. He won 2.
Okay. Josh didn't. Craig didn't. Johnny didn't. Lyndon didn't. It's interesting.
All more reason.
Speculation, rumors.
No, and I mean, it's got to be tough too because he's one of those guys that's been in that XC2 class for so long and finally came into his own and got this championship. So I'm sure he does want to stay down and defend it and ride XC2 again. And I'm sure he's getting paid the same, if not more. He's probably getting paid more to race XC2, especially when you start to factor in bonuses and everything else like that you have going into it. But I'm beating a dead horse, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I know I've said this before, but look at Craig DeLong. Craig DeLong is a 1,000% different rider right now than he was in that XC2 class because he was another guy that was in XC2 for a long time. And now we saw last year everything that he went through to get into this spot that he's in now, and he's the overall champion. He's running people down when the season's on the line, when it matters, when it counts, when everyone is there. And I think going up to that front row and being in that position has to help a ton with getting faster and getting better. And I think Liam is another one of those guys that the way that he rides and as technically sound of a rider and as good of a rider as he is, I think if he got some confidence in him and got out in that front row and rode with them guys, I think he would see that Craig DeLong progression in his riding. I mean, that's the only reason I think of it. But when you're doing this for a living, obviously the first thing on your mind is money. And you can probably make way more money by defending that XC2 title.
I would think so. Especially starting off and then best case scenario he defends, wins again, and then you go into the XC1 class with full head of steam and what do you say, all that like confidence and you know, what am I trying to say? To earn you a better contract. To get paid. What am I trying to say? There's a word for it. Basically, when you go to the plate to argue your contract and everything, you can say, hey, look, I'm a 2-time champ. Pay me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But that title was hard fought and came down to the wire with Gus. Gus actually beat him in the overall, which is still a point of contention for me because the XC1 championship was decided by the overall, not the class, and the XC2 championship was decided on the class and not the overall, which I think a pro class is a pro class, and there should be consistency there.
Yeah, but, I mean, you're going to rewrite the rules off of 1 year? I mean, has this ever happened like that?
No, but I'm pretty sure that rule about the overall versus XC1 points changed a couple years ago when it got close to this happening again.
Leverage. Yes.
Who filled you in on that one?
PMD Racing. Negotiate. Whoever, Fred Neal.
Yeah.
Words I was trying to think of. The
But,
YouTube comments are behind, ain't they?
There's a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
There's a delay between when we're talking and when it goes to YouTube. So I think the comments are just delayed with the video. But, yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know. For me, a pro class is a pro class. And so if you're going to use the overall for one, I think you should use the overall for both. And, I mean, realistically, I think there should be an XC1 title and an overall title. And I think that would solve all of it. And, like, right now, we'd be at a point where Stu is the XC1 champion and Craig is the overall champion.
Yeah, but what are you going to do, show up and run 2 number 1 plates?
That would be the weird part. But
I think what would be weird is if an XC2 rider, it don't matter. I think you got to go off the overall. I think that's the right way to do it.
for both classes or for XC1?
Well, yeah, but if it's never even happened a race, but if the XC2 rider won the overall championship, then you'd have to go off the overall, because you wouldn't have any other way to score. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so Stu won XC1 points, Craig won the overall, but if some crazy scenario an XC2 rider won the overall, then the class doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who won XC1. If an XC2 rider would ever win the overall championship, that's your overall champion.
Yeah. But
That's what matters.
like a lot of the years that Caleb was winning those championships, you'd see him give out 2 number 1 plates. They would give him an XC1 number 1 plate, and they'd give him an overall number 1 plate.
So they couldn't do that this year.
And then they'd give him an AMA number 1 plate.
That's a good point.
So then it got changed somewhere down the line where now it says that the XC1 points will run congruent to the overall points.
But I think that's the right thing.
Yeah, but it just makes it weird that the XC2 champion got beat by the second guy in XC2 for the year. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the payouts, look, they took away the class payouts. Now they just pay the top 15. And so you took away your XC2 payouts and combined them for the top 15 overall.
So the second place guy got paid more.
Well, so now you're putting all of the emphasis on the overall for XC2 as well. But then second place in XC2 beat the XC2 champion in the overall, which is how the points are paid, or which is how the money is paid out every single round. Just none of it makes sense to me.
You're digging too deep.
I'm just saying.
You are making good points, but
Look into it.
yeah, you're making my head hurt.
I mean, like I said, they made that change this year where they took away the class payouts and they put the emphasis on the overall. So if they're going to put the emphasis on the overall, I feel like it should be across the board.
You know, I don't think they thought that much into it. I think their thought was they up the pay for more people.
Yeah. And they wouldn't expect that this weird situation would happen across the board in the same year. But
it never works out that way, but it always does.
Long story long, all of that to say this. It ain't going to be a cakewalk next year for Liam Draper to come back and win that title, especially that Gus has had a taste of that Gus has been on the cusp of it. And, yeah, it'll be interesting.
I don't even want to bring this up, but
All right, go ahead.
you talking about Gus and Liam and the XC2. Can we get some decent freaking commentators that know what the hell is going on?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Because I'm sorry, but when you what was the second, Buckwheat, and you claim Liam as the XC2 champ when he is clearly not. He hadn't even had a chance to look at points, and he comes off the track and he's like, "You guys don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
It's pretty freaking embarrassing. And I know there's a lot of people there's a lot of people that notice that pay attention to that, and it's pretty embarrassing. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, and
That's a whole other discussion that we don't even need to dive into, but it's something that needs to be talked about at some point because it's bad.
Yeah, and that was something that we also talked about on the show at the time because, like, kudos to Liam. Like, Liam knew what was up, and they tried to crown him as champion that entire race. And then they come off the track and even ask him on the live show about winning the XC2 championship. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not even wrapped it up yet. And so, I mean, it was good for him to immediately kind of refute that and say what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, heaven forbid Liam's actually do champ and then just start celebrating. God, how bad would that have looked?
Yeah.
So at least somebody knows what's going on.
Yeah. Either that or I don't know, you got the viewer at home that's looking and watching like this guy won the championship. Why is his team not celebrating? Why are they not doing anything for him? Why are they treating him like that? He just won a championship.
Because he didn't win the championship.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So, anyway, let's move on from that. I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope.
Very,
It is.
Very.
It is the best thing that we have in off-road racing. So we'll give him credit where credit's due. I just feel like there's not a whole lot of direction, especially you could watch that with a black screen or not even facing the camera and get everything that you need. Like there's nothing talked about on screen, and when there is something talked about on screen, it's the wrong person. But I don't know. It is the best thing in the sport, and it is great that we have a way to watch off-road racing.
But it could be so much better.
But it could be so much better.
It needs to be better.
Shout out Racer TV.
I'm just solidifying you to never have a job with them. Sorry. Again. Never have a job with them again.
I texted Tim Cotter today. He did not text me back.
You'll get one tomorrow.
Maybe. So, Tim, if you're listening, this was just all a ploy to get you to contact me back. That was it.
I said it, not Tyler.
But, I mean, that's also, like, when you talk about commentary, that goes so far on broadcast. You look at combat sports, MMA, boxing. You look at NASCAR. You look at even Supercross and all that. The commentary can make or break the show and make or break what is going on. And I just feel like it's something that is kind of on the cusp, on the fly. And I know they do like weekly meetings and stuff because I used to be on them every week. But like I said, there's so many little things that you could do by spending $0 extra to make it such a more watchable and consumable product.
Yep.
Is my opinion.
Yep.
That was not on our list of things to bring up.
No, it's not. So let's get back to the list because I'm not gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. So.
Tim, still on to talk to you about something. So we talked about National Enduro. The girls, women, McKenzie Tricker. Has Dylan still been commenting? I need to ask Dylan a question right now.
He hasn't in a few minutes.
Because Dylan and I talked about something, and I would like to request permission. Am I allowed to talk about what we talked about? And he'll know what I'm talking about if he's still on here. Because that brings me to my next subject. McKenzie Tricker won the National Enduro. She also won Full Gas and wrapped up that title as well. And so what I want to talk about is directly related to both of those two things. So Dylan Bean, if you're still on there, let me know.
He's here.
If that is public knowledge.
He said, I'm here.
Is it public knowledge for me to break the news as it relates to that?
Hold on.
Because I'm definitely not spoiling something like that. But McKenzie Tricker took the win. Brooke Cosner raced Grant Baylor's practice bike, set up for Grant Baylor.
Oh, God.
And got second place in the women's elite class.
I bet she was sore.
I bet so as well.
Probably a stiff bike for her.
Yeah. And then Cheryl Hunter, coming straight off of GNCC top 5, gets her, I'm pretty sure, her first professional podium, first national enduro podium for sure, in the third place spot. So that was cool. Got to talk with her a little bit at Ironman, and I'm pretty sure that most people watching the show know Cheryl Hunter, very active on social media. But it's cool all the stuff that she does on social media, and she's building herself up as a brand, and it's cool to see that. But not only like there are the influencers or the social media people that go there just to do a photo shoot and leave. So like it's cool to see her gritting it out, racing all the races, and then now getting faster, having the success, getting the top 5s at GNCCs, getting on the podium at National Enduro. And I know there's been some girls there and not there, but nevertheless, it is cool to see all that happening. Switching off of National, did we get a response from Dylan?
I'm pretty sure what you're thinking about has already been posted on her Instagram.
Let me double check.
Oh man.
Bear with us for
We-
just a second.
When we get done with this NEPG talk, we got somebody who wants to call in.
Okay, so yeah, thanks everyone for the support. On to the next chapter, and I'm reading some of the comments. So, without being able to listen to this post, I can assume that has already been said. So McKenzie Tricker takes the win, wraps up her 4th straight national enduro title, which McKenzie Tricker, multi-time national champion in Australia in motocross, comes over here, multiple-time Loretta Lynn's champion at motocross, multiple-time WMX Pro Women's Champion in motocross, makes the switch over into off-road, several full gas sprint enduro championships, and I think 4 straight national enduro championships. So you go from being one of the best in the best in the world at women's motocross to racing the tightest, gnarliest tracks that there are at the national enduros and win championship after championship in that series as well, and also showing the sprint speed as well. But she wrapped up that final championship in full gas as well as national enduro, and that will round out McKenzie Tricker's career. So McKenzie Tricker is actually retiring from the sport, which is really cool because she's got a lot of stuff going on outside the sport as well. So it's cool that she's got that to fall back on. But I did talk with her a little bit while we were standing around at the full gas podium, just kind of talking to her like, hey, like, this is it. This is the last one. Like, how you feel about it? And she was kind of like up in the air. And you go from a person that has been their whole entire life is racing, and then to go to the last one. That's got to be a bittersweet feeling, especially wrapping up 2 championships and back-to-back weekends. But then, yeah, so going out like that. So, yeah, I didn't realize that she had already announced it on Instagram, but that is going to close out the career for McKenzie Tricker.
5th championship.
5th championship.
Yep.
National Enduro Championship? I guess so. 5 in a row.
He just said 5th. So what's she doing now, do you know?
Yeah, I'm assuming that that's not anything secretive either. So she works for BMW
Oh.
and does motorcycle training for BMW corporate down in South Carolina. And Dylan is actually doing driving instruction and stuff at BMW as well down there. So that's going to be like her transition is still sticking around motorcycles, but doing it for BMW. And her words, not mine, making a lot more money.
I bet so.
So
There's not many people. There's not a lot of money to make. But
yeah. So yeah,
good for her. I mean, that's a long long career and a life goal of racing dirt bikes and winning championships that she got to fulfill.
Yep.
Move across the world.
and a lot of feathers in the cap, a lot of success along the way too.
Yep.
So, shout out McKenzie Tricker. Onward and upward. Talk about last weekend. It was the final round of the Mid-East Hare Scramble. I have to pee as well. Oh, you're going right now?
Yep.
All right, go ahead. So it was also, hey, look, it's me and then me. It's like Inception. So last week was the final round of the Mid-East Hare Scramble. Happened at the Wilsons Airport in Hickory, North Carolina. This, for the 2nd year in a row, it has kind of turned into William Wilson's father's memorial. Yeah, you can just step right over that cord. And so the past couple years, they throw big money at it, at the pro purse to get people out. Last year, we saw that come down to the wire between Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor. They both came out and raced it and put on a show for the fans, and Stu ended up making the pass on the final lap to make the pass over Caleb Russell. Now, I say that to say this. This year, it was a $12,000 purse. I think it was $3,000 to win, $2,000 for second, and $1,000 for third, which is a really big purse, especially for locals and especially in off-road. That's a good purse. So, unfortunately, you couldn't get as many of the quote-unquote big riders out there because of the National Enduro. The National Enduro was the same exact day. And when you talk about Mid-East Hare Scrambles, when you look through the national rankings and the national championships, a lot of the riders on those lists come from the Mid-East Hare Scramble series. It is one of the largest series in the country on any scale, but it is also a very competitive market and a very competitive series because when you look at the map, you got a core group of off-road riders right here in the Carolinas, and then you got another big group like in Ohio and PA area, and there's some other people scattered about, but I think one of those biggest sections of riders is right here in North Carolina and South Carolina that race that Mid-East Championship. So of those guys, you got Brody Johnson, Jonathan Johnson, Trevor Bollinger, like all those kind of factory guys, and those guys were at the. You talking about Mike DeLosa? Yeah, I was getting to that, but talking about the factory guys, which I guess Mike DeLosa is factory supported, but that's besides the point. What I was getting at is the showdown. I think would have been way bigger had it not been the final round of National Enduro, but still pulled out a good crowd. I think there was 11 pro riders. Josh Strang came out and raced as well, but they threw a curveball right there at the end when they were all on the starting line, and then William Wilson, who owns the property, said, "You know what? Let's do a Le Mans start." So rather than starting on the bikes were on the line, and then the riders walked out to the front turn or to the first turn. And on the green flag had to run to their bikes, get on their bikes, start their bikes, and take off. Thanks to the gentleman right in front of me, Big Tom, he sabotaged Josh Strang, so Josh Strang's bike would not start, putting him in dead last to start the race.
Yeah, it's pretty bad deal.
Not a good race to be in last place.
No. All I did was held the bike. I just
Sure.
hold it.
Tight track, dusty track. Not a lot of room to pass. Not a lot of vision to be had when you're eating everybody's smoke from back there.
Let me call him.
What happened?
Skinny.
Oh, did he say something? So Josh Strang starts dead last, and I was filming from the second corner. Literally every single person was behind me, and I filmed them going in the woods, turned back around, and Strang is just now coming to the first turn. So everyone's off in the woods by the time Strang gets started and going. I am going to go out on a limb and say that no rider on the face of this earth could have went from last to first that day, that track, those conditions, because of how bad it was, because of how dusty it was, because of how tight it was, and because of how short of a track it was. You go to the complete opposite side of that, the young lad that got out in front before everybody with the young, fresh legs and big, long legs was the skinny ripper, Tyler Palmer. So Tyler Palmer did get the whole shot. He was the first person on the track, and he never looked back after that. Dude, he came around the first lap like a minute in the lead over second place.
Yeah, and that's 2 years in a row that he's got that start.
Yeah.
He got it last year.
Yeah.
So something about the Le Mans start running, and I don't know. He smoked them both years on the start.
Yeah. But this time he literally smoked him with a cloud of dust that nobody could get through once he got that whole shot and early lead. So, like I said, he ended up putting a big lead on him, and there was a good group of guys there. I mean, it was Mike DeLosa, Colton Shields, Zach Davidson, Josh Strang. Who else was there?
Oh, look, Tyler's on the phone. Skinny,
Yo.
tell us about this Mideast.
We were just talking about you.
We was talking about you. Tell us about the start.
You're live on everywhere right now.
Yeah, and you're live, so don't say nothing stupid.
How's everyone hear me? You just got me up to the mic?
Yep, on the mic.
Thanks for watching the show. You would know if you were looking at it, but
He's been watching it.
I had been watching it, but now I just fired up some Shane Gillis. You know who that is?
yeah.
Oh, dude, there's a clip of him on this. Anyways, we'll get into it sometime. Unbelievable. The race, yeah, was sick. Unfortunately, it was really dusty, but it worked out in my favor.
We were talking
Got
about
my
you.
Foot Falcons out.
We were talking about you getting back-to-back hole shots last year and this year. What's up with the Le Mans start, dude? Are you a track star that we didn't know about? What's going on?
I did run some track in my day at school. I wasn't the fastest, but Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, if you look at the two starts from the last year and this year, it's like the exact same. Like, it looks like the exact same start. Like, I was pretty much in the same spot as last year, and I don't know. And it was good, but them boys were a lot closer this year, so they must have practiced.
I just want to know if you have opened up the envelope yet to know if it was a check,
That was gonna be my question.
$100 bills, 20s, or what.
No, I haven't looked at it.
Are you
It could
se-
be just fake money. I
Are
don't
you
know.
serious?
I haven't opened it. I could open it right now, actually.
You still haven't opened this thing?
No.
I tried to get him
haven't.
to take us to Scores on Sunday night, and he wouldn't do it.
Dude, so I saw him at Full Gas and I asked him what he spent his money on, and he told me the same thing. They hadn't even opened the envelope yet.
No.
Open it up and tell us what Buren's handing out.
What are you waiting on?
It felt a little thick, so
Might be ones.
yeah. Then we really got to go to Scores.
Might be Monopoly money. I should have traded out my envelope with your envelope had I known all
He'd
this.
have never known.
Nope. It's getting cracked right now. You hear it?
Can you even count to 3,000?
My question is, how are you making enough money to where you gotta throw $3,000 in the sock drawer and not worry about it?
Dog, don't worry about me.
Selling feet pics or something.
M&D
we run
Racing.
these other businesses down here in 30D. All right, they're all hundreds except there's two 50s at the end. They ran out of hundreds, I guess.
Oh, shit.
You done cleaned them dry of all their hundreds.
Yep, took them all. Loud and proud.
Oh, man. That was, I'm glad you opened it. You're going to spend it now. That's the problem.
No. I will eventually. My other money will run out here soon. We'll be digging into that. I've already put some money into. I'm a crypto guy now.
Hey,
You're a little late on the crypto, I think.
Hey, I ain't going after the Bitcoin stock, buddy. I'm going after some other stuff.
hey, it's been surging this week, man. I just checked my account. I'm pretty high up this week, son.
Yeah, honestly, when I'm in, it went up. It went up quite a bit, but I don't really know much about it. But if I
That's
get
the best way
rich,
to invest.
It was off crypto.
Just throw money at the wall and hope it sticks.
Hey, man, maybe you need to go down the road and see Zach Tussle and get you on the right track.
Oh yeah, I heard he sponsors the show.
Oh yeah, a little financial advice. He's right down the road from you, man.
I know. I could almost throw a rock and hit his shop.
All right, Skinny. You want to talk some shit or what? You scared?
No, I always talk some shit, man.
Who else was on the podium? I forgot. I know
ain't
Strang.
Delosa.
I think Strang got third. Delosa was second.
Yep.
Yeah, Delosa was real close on the start. Like, he was the closest one. Like, if you look at last year when we did it, no one was close. They didn't know what they were doing. But for some reason, Delosa had a better gate pick than me. But he started so far outside for some reason. So
He didn't know to run downhill like you did.
I just went to the quickest, straightest point to the turn.
Just so happened it was downhill.
Yeah, Strang got screwed.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, because Tom sabotaged his bike.
I didn't do
Yeah.
shit.
They didn't practice very well. Tom was holding the wrong side of the bike. Yeah.
Hey, I was just doing what I was told.
Yeah. And Strang's got a couple years on me, so Andy had to run uphill. So
Hey, man, I just want to know, because I know y'all all had dinner and stuff later that night. Strang, your trainer, I know you guys ride a lot together and stuff. He came straight off of a GNCC overall win, and you beat him the next weekend. Did you let him have it? What was the deal there?
No.
How much did you think about it?
I definitely didn't let him have it. That's some things you just don't do. And I knew my place, and I didn't open my mouth.
Come on,
He
man.
said I did it. He said I did it at one point, but I was like, "What are you talking about, man? I didn't say nothing to you."
You gotta poke the bear.
Nah, I don't know about that there.
Oh, Skinny didn't even thank him on the podium.
I did totally forget, but I tried to redeem myself. But man, I was in the doghouse there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, Skinny.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep on rolling through this thing. We got we got some other stuff to talk about that everybody wants to know about.
Alrighty, get on it.
You may call you back and you spill the beans or what?
On what?
Factory Triumph, I thought.
Everything you know.
Oh, silly season stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to be the one that gossips? Nah, I don't need to do
You
that.
gonna tell us about your you gonna tell us about your XC2 Triumph ride?
No, we do not need to talk about that. that was not good.
My bad.
All right,
Yeah.
Skinny. Good job. We'll talk to you later on.
All right,
See you, bud.
later. See ya.
Speaking of that was pretty crazy how much those Thad Duvall rumors spun after I said he was going to Triumph for XC2.
To be honest, I heard you say that the other day, and I don't even remember you starting that rumor.
It was all when I did that show on Instagram Live. Stu commented and said something about it, and then I just went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was clear we were joking. Found out by the next day it was not clear we were joking. So yeah, that's gonna do it for Mid-East. We're an hour into this thing.
I think
we got everybody in here with silly season, so I guess we gotta get to that at some point.
I do think that they are coming racing off road in maybe 2025, 26.
That is a fact. They are coming off road racing, but it is gonna be a couple years.
Yep.
And I know that there are a couple riders testing
Already.
No. Can't get bikes right now. But there's a couple people in talks.
Good.
What
about Ducati?
I'll
too?
move that thing a little bit close. Yeah, Ducati is coming out with a dirt bike. I think they released the pictures of theirs.
Just better.
Yeah. But I think they posted the whole bike instead of just posting the chain adjusters and then the fork guards like Triumph did. Kept you guessing, kept you interested.
Yep. Well, everybody skins a cat different way or something like that.
I did hear that there's a Ducati test rider lined up as well. Interestingly enough. So, other thing we're going to talk about. Oh, can't forget Rivers Morris. Rivers Magic Creek Morris is the 2023 overall GNCC champion. The reason I call him Creek is because he's not big enough to be a river. His name is Rivers. He's about 5'3" on a good day. Maybe 110 pounds. Very fast. Rides for Battery Park, off-road, KTM.
He's still a B rider.
He won the overall.
That's crazy.
He is technically a B rider. Very fast B rider.
Wonder what rules Mid-East has on that. Are they the same as GNCC's? So is he your Pro 1 champion, or is he just your overall champion?
Well, that's what I was just sitting here thinking.
Will he run a number 1 plate in B class next year?
He earned it. He'll be in A class.
Oh,
but
still, I would. Red.
Why not?
Big fat number 1 on it.
And so the overall, you get 3 drops. And they didn't want me to make a big fuss about, not a big fuss about it, but bring him up on the podium and talk to him and interview him and declare him the champion. So naturally, I did that anyway. But they didn't want me to do it because it was such a preposterous idea that a B rider just won the overall Mid-East Pro Championship. I mean, we're talking about the former champions Mike DeLosa, Jonathan Johnson, Trevor Bollinger, Trevor Barrett, Vance Earl. Who did Takeshi ever win one? He had to have been close.
I'm sure he was close.
But yeah, and
You're
then
missing a bunch.
Yeah. But it's always a pro rider.
Brody.
Yeah.
Brody's one of them.
And then Rivers Morris wins it from the B class, 4-stroke B lights. And his worst overall finish of the year was a 20th. And that's what ended up doing it for him is the second to last round, he got 8th place overall. And he was consistently in the top 10 or right around the top 10. But then you look at the DeLosas, the Zach Davidsons, everyone that was in the hunt, they would have, they missed a couple rounds, whether they're somewhere else or they're not racing, and then have a bad race, have a DNF, have brake issues, something like that, to where they would have an 80th or 90th overall. And that's a big gap in points. And so when you look at River, just the consistency throughout the year, he ended up winning the overall championship, which I think is insane. And I don't remember hearing of that not only at Mid-East, but any series, really.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Probably never happen again.
We're going to get Rivers on the show. We're going to talk to him about it. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy thing. And then speaking of overall champions, this past weekend, another overall championship got wrapped up at the North Carolina Hare Scramble Association.
Your favorite series.
My
That's
favorite
right.
series
You
out
got
there.
it right.
Hey, I even talked about making a truce with them. I went there. Nobody even talked to me. Hanging out. It was weird. It was back to back. So I've been looking forward to off season this whole time. I'm at all the races, driving around, doing all this stuff, and then GNCC ends, National Enduro ends, Mid East ends. Very first off weekend. What do? Go to a race on Saturday. Go to a race on Sunday.
Did you go Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there. So I raced full gas on Saturday. Abysmal. I don't know why. I kind of thought that I could be competitive. Like, I wasn't expecting anything really, but I also, like, in the back of my mind, it's like, it's Vet B. Like,
Didn't think you was gonna do as bad as you did.
yeah, pretty much.
It happens.
Yeah. So, like, the first couple, I was, like, trying. And then once I saw that I was still off the pace, I was like, all right, I'm just trying not to die after I headbutted the ground pretty hard.
It's good for you to get back out there though.
Yeah, it definitely got me like stoked, like wanting to ride again and wanting to ride more. Dude, I've put less than 20 hours on bikes in the past 3 years, and so now it's like all I can think about is riding again and trying to be more competitive than I was this past weekend. But still had a lot of fun, and it was still able to be a part of the last full gas enduro as we know it. Which was also weird because I've been to, until this year, nearly every single full gas sprint enduro that's ever existed. And this was the first time that I wasn't working or announcing and kind of just soaking it in as a rider and as a racer. So I thought it was a lot of fun, man. It's like perfect timing. Like you go out and ride, go back, hang out just long enough to like get a drink, kind of collect yourself, and then you go back out and ride again. And I really like the change in the format where you run 5 straight cross tests and then 5 straight enduro tests. It kind of gives you that building block to build off of it each time you go out.
Yeah, I agree. It's a long day, but it's a fast paced day. It's a lot of hurry up and wait, but it's also I wouldn't want to be there for 2 days.
Yeah.
I like the one day. I wouldn't want to do more than 10 tests in a day either. So
Yeah.
it is fun.
Well, and I mean that's the thing too is it wasn't nearly as much downtime as I thought. Like that's why, because I got into the sport late and I started riding late, and that's why I never really got into moto.
This guy here pretty much just said that you sucked at the cross test, but you were better in the enduro.
Who said that?
PMD racing. He said you did better in enduro, Tyler. I could catch you easy in cross test.
Oh, that must have been that fellow that was behind me the whole time.
So
Well,
he gave you a compliment,
in
but
full,
also insulted you.
in 4 out of 5 cross tests, I crashed. So when you're talking about 15-second gaps, that's gonna do it. Yeah, the only cross test I didn't crash in was the second one, and then the third one is when I went straight to the dome piece in my helmet. I've been knocked. The first time I wore that helmet, I got knocked out cold, and I was like, "Well, I'm not getting rid of my $600 helmet after getting knocked out the first time."
That's exactly what you should do.
That's what you should do. But I've also hit my head in that thing a bunch more times since then. The visor bolt broke, so I had to drill a hole in it to safety wire it. Safety wire wouldn't get through, so what I do, I melt all the styrofoam that's right here in the front of the helmet so I can get safety wire through. There's nothing safe about that helmet anymore, so if any helmet companies are listening or watching, I'm in need of a helmet sponsorship.
I don't think that's the way to do it. I don't think that's the way to get a helmet sponsorship. I'm going to drill it. I'm going to get knocked out in it. I'm going to still wear it.
Hey, torture
But hey,
testing.
sponsor me.
Hey, I mean, gotta do what I can do. But anyway, so yeah, after that cross test, it was pretty rough on me. I don't like going fast. I almost had a good one. I almost had a high speed one. Saved it though. What?
This guy said, that's me. Haha, no insult. I waited 30 to 40 seconds before each test.
Perfect.
But he still caught you on the cross test.
Yeah.
But no insult.
But I crashed 4 out of 5 times.
That's all right.
It is what it is.
First racing, how many years you said?
Ain't no shame in my game. My last real race was 2020, the end
Yeah.
of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Lots happened since then.
The last race I did was 21 when I rode my Tenere 700 2 big buck,
Fuck,
raced
I
it,
forgot about that.
and rode home. That was my last race.
I remember that. I took videos of you that day.
So
At least 2.
Yeah. So like I said, it is what it is. But like Ironman, I knew when I went to Ironman, I knew I wasn't racing it. I knew I was riding the industry class because I had to ride around for 3 hours in the pro race to film. So if I would have done a 2 hour long race, I would have been worthless for filming, and I was there to film. This one, like, I wanted to go out there and I wanted to see how I stacked up. So figured that out. I'm also on a bone stock bike with bone stock suspension and bone stock, the worst tires I've ever ridden in my life. Betas are cool. Those tires that come on them are not cool. They are terrible. So I'm not gonna say what those tires are in case you want to sponsor me. Then they can get better. No, they're the FIM spec tires too. So they're not good.
Yeah.
They're good for brown and interstates. Anything outside of that,
Burnouts.
no good. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. But I don't even know how we got so far off of this topic. Oh yeah, because the races I went to this weekend. Sunday, I went to the North Carolina race. It was a showdown between Evan Earl and Dustin Smith. Evan Earl
Smith?
What'd I say? Oh,
Dustin Smith.
Dustin Simpson
Come on.
and Evan Earl.
It's your boy.
I guess I was thinking Evan Smith. Happy birthday, Evan Smith, if Evan Smith is watching. Today's his birthday.
Dustin Simpson. Destructo.
Destructo D, Dustin Simpson. So I guess if Evan won, there had to be one person between him and Dustin, and if they got second and third, then there had to be two people in between. They got second and third. Jonathan Johnson won the race. Dustin Simpson won the championship, the most anticlimactic championship I've ever seen won. And there's not even someone with a checkered flag. No one. They just scanned him with their damn grocery store scanner. And then he rode through, and they kind of sat there, and like he dapped up Evan and dapped up Vance,
That was it.
and then just rode to the truck. Like no one came over and said congratulations. No one said congrats, dude, you did it. No one waved a checkered flag. Like it was just the most anticlimactic end to a season I've ever seen happen in my entire life. So shout out North Carolina.
Did he even like give it a rev or anything?
Like a little bit. Dustin gave it a little bit of a rev.
He probably went home and did a burnout in his shop.
Yeah. Drank some beers.
I've seen that.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just expecting more. This is the overall championship. But I know that
He was pretty pumped on it. I think. Yeah.
I know Dustin definitely was. Like I know that meant a lot to him. And Dustin is a dude like he's out digging ditches and drilling holes all week, every day. Like working long hours. He is the true like working class hero. So that was cool to see him wrap up that championship. One bike, no support, no help. Bought a house this year, got married this year, and won that championship this year.
It's a good year for him.
It's pretty cool.
He is running Bark Busters though, so we gotta give him some shit for that.
No, we talked about that. That's the move to make.
No,
Bark Busters.
absolutely.
They're a
not.
solution to everything.
Nope.
I can't ride without Bark Busters.
No.
He also said this is his first year ever. That his pinkies aren't all bloody and his fingers aren't all beat up.
You're not supposed to run through the trees. You still have to dodge them.
I like Bark Busters because they save the levers, and you don't have to worry about your hand getting caught. Look at Bollinger. Bollinger got his pinky chopped off by getting his finger stuck in between the bars and a rock. Bark Busters can't do that.
I tell you what, if you can give
That's why we tell her talking about it.
If you can convince Bollinger to run Bark Busters, yes, I'll
Buy the podcast.
Yeah, it's not really $100. If you can convince Bollinger to run Bark Busters for one GNCC next year, I'll give you $100.
I feel like National Enduro makes more sense.
No, because he always does it something. That's not going to count.
I
Because I
just-
give him shit every year because he talks shit about it all the time. Back in the day, he would talk shit about Bark Busters. And then he shows up with them at Sumter every year, and I always make a point to comment on it.
The only thing I ever see anybody say about Bark Busters, especially pros, is that with flags, they kind of deflect off of trees and little twigs, and the Bark Busters catch them and jar. I think that is BS. I don't think it jars any more than taking a tree to your damn pinky and your finger or your handlebars jar anyway. Or flags when you catch a damn tree and get a handful of front brake.
Whenever it happens to you, you'll know, and you'll never run them again.
What do you mean? What? What happens?
When you clip a tree, and then
I've clipped a lot of trees with Bark
instead of,
Busters.
instead of clipping the tree and skating on out of there, you clip the tree, get head shake, go straight into a tree, or you wreck or something.
I think it's the same thing
not-
with flags, except your fingers hurt afterwards too.
Yeah, well, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it.
I'm a Barkbuster guy. So congratulations to Dustin Simpson winning that overall championship. I think that covers it. Next year, GNCC, we got that on the docket, and then obviously silly season is the elephant in the room. I guess talking about the GNCC next year, I mean that's silly season in and of itself.
Yeah.
Now you and I had a little bit of a conflicting opinion on this.
Well, let's go back to Ironman and tell everybody that who wasn't there what Tim said on the starting line.
Yeah, that's actually what I was getting to.
Okay.
So Tim said that they were going back to 13 rounds next year, which I'm already hearing being refuted. But then also said that we're returning to an old property and we have a brand new property. Brand new property is the Landers property in Tennessee. The Landers, owner of the Magna One team. And also like it's a town Jordan Ashburn lives in too. But that property is going to be the new property for GNCC. I have a very vested interest in finding out if it's going to be a new National Enduro property as well. What were you going to say?
It's just good to see new property for the GNCC series.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone would agree with that.
They need it bad. I mean, the tracks we go to are great. That they run on are great, but to me, it's tough to be a national series and have 3 venues, 2 venues this year, but
in the past it's been
It's
3.
been 3 with 2 races. It's not good. And they need to venture outside of the greater West Virginia area. I hate to say that because it's good for where we live. To be honest, there's 3 races outside of that are more than 6 hours away from Charlotte for us. That's the 2 Ironmans in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is within 6 hours, 6 to or less, and that makes it really easy to do. But to be a national series, it's good to see them venturing out. So outside of the area, and it's good.
Well, I mean, it's still along the drive to Indiana from here.
Which is
Roughly.
fine.
Yeah, but new properties are great.
Yeah. I want to know what happened to the one in Kentucky, in Bowling Green, Kentucky,
The one that was scheduled for COVID year.
for 2020.
Yeah. And then obviously the world shut down.
Yeah.
And that's what ended it that year, but why did it never come back?
Right. Yep. Kentucky doesn't seem like a place that's concerned about COVID to me.
Or Black Sky, that place in New York.
Yep.
They ran it like once and then never went back.
I just looked at that 2020 schedule the other day. There's another one, the Tomahawk in New York.
Yep.
What happened to that one?
Yep. And I know that locals still race at Black Sky and Tomahawk. Tomahawk was actually in the town that my extended family lives in New York. So it was cool. I'd go up and stay with them and drive
Where at?
15 minutes down the road.
Which one?
Odessa, New York.
Which
is
one was that? Tomahawk?
Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Outside of Ithaca. Ithaca is the closest big city. That's where I was born at.
There was a movie.
I'm a Yankee.
There was a movie. They went to Ithaca.
Yeah.
What movie is that?
Road Trip
Or Sex Drive? Road Trip.
with Tom Green.
I don't know.
And the guy accidentally sent a sex tape to his girlfriend.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was Road Trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a pretty funny movie.
Because they sent it to Boston instead of Austin or something. Yeah. Yeah. Same Ithaca.
Yep.
But yeah, so that one too, and then X Factor with the trophy whitetail hunting place. That place was sick.
But didn't that place kind of get screwed with like 2 motor races in a row or something?
Yeah, and
that
that
were
one
really
was
bad.
That one was really bad.
Yep.
Which I think is probably a big reason. But they were still racing locals there. I think
Really?
IXCR still raced there. I don't think they do now, but I know they did after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is like, I wonder how these GNCC landowner deals work. Because like, if you were a farmer and you had hundreds of acres of land,
I wonder if there's something that has to do with taxes on that too. because farmland is supposed to be farmland.
Yeah, like agriculture.
Yeah.
But if it is agricultural land, there's a certain dollar amount that you have to make off the crops that are grown on that land to keep it as agricultural land. But if you're talking about like a legit farmer, like at Ironman, they're farming corn and all that stuff up there. Like if you're looking at a legit farmer, think of how much money those damn fields make from growing a crop and harvesting that crop and selling that crop. It's got to be hard to get someone to convince you to come let a couple thousand dirt bikes and four-wheelers come tear it up.
Look how much money that Ironman field made about a month ago.
From corn or from racers?
From the GNCC.
Well, I think they
My God.
have a different deal with the shavers because they're like family friends, I would imagine. But like I said, this is where I'm completely speaking out of turn and context. I have no idea how those GNCC landowner deals work. I know for like full gas and Mid-East, it's a set rate. Here's what we're going to pay you. It's got to be different for GNCC with the amount of people they bring in. I heard upwards of like 35,000, 40,000 people through the gate at Ironman.
That's insane.
And then over 2,900 riders.
I believe it.
2,900 riders through the gate, entry fee alone is $250,000.
Wow.
That's just the riders. Not to mention however many tens of thousands people's through the gate.
Yep.
But shout out Josh Rang winning $2,000, win the overall.
You know what's bad?
What?
Skinny beat him in one more to Mid-East.
Yeah. That is crazy, isn't it? When you break it down that way. But, yeah, so to the returning park, and this is where this whole conversation started. When Tim said it, and I can't for the life of me remember who I've been trying to remember this whole time, but there was somebody that is a full-time MX Sports employee, I'm pretty sure. It was someone that would definitely know. I asked them as soon as Tim said, hey, where are we going back to? Powerline Park? And they were like, no. It's going to be, and they had to think about it for a second, high voltage. I was like, oh, okay. I remember people had differing opinions of that. I think Bradley Chapman is watching right now. Bradley Chapman about got impaled by a fence post at the high voltage. Neither here nor there. But now you're saying that you're hearing that it's Powerline Park.
Correct. And I thought both of them were in Pennsylvania. And you informed me otherwise. So
That neither one of them are?
yeah. Yeah. So,
So Powerline Park is St. Clairsville, Ohio. One of, like, pretty popular meme out on the interwebs. Like, when memes were just GIFs, when GIFs were getting popular. Brooke Cosner's dad is a pretty famous one. He's sitting there walking across you remember the big, like, mud pit jump?
mm-hmm.
So
He's at Powerline Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Brooke Cosner's dad is standing in the middle of it talking on the phone, and someone crashes and their bike just goes flying, like, dude, Mach speed flying at her dad who's standing out in the middle talking on a cell phone, and he, like, looks at the bike and just jumps over it, and the bike goes flying underneath him, and he, like, never even drops the phone, like, just walks away continuing to talk on the phone.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
So that was a clip that came out of Powerline Park. I got, like, sequence shots of Chris Vendetti just eating it, like, hitting, bouncing over the bars. Yeah, that mud pit, mud hole is a famous one. That thing was sketchy. So, I don't know. And then also heard talk about maybe the Mountaineer, like the Boy Scout camp, not happening going forward.
It's a rumor.
Yeah.
Don't know how any weight to it, but makes me wonder if the mud race this year had anything to do with that. Because I always, the first year we went there, I went the first year and we pulled in that place, and it's, if you've ever been there or if you've never been there, that place is immaculate. I took my dad up there this year for the first time, and I told him, I said, it's probably the nicest venue other than Snowshoe that we go to. And only Snowshoe because it's a freaking ski resort on the top of a mountain. But I think it's the nicest venue we go to. And I always have wondered what's going to happen if there's a motor race here. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
And it's not only that, like, that place is perfectly engineered. That is the most engineered parking lot I've ever seen. There's water breaks and ditches everywhere. But all that is meant to funnel that water from the parking lot into the woods.
Yeah, but the woods, I mean, as far as tearing up a venue, the woods is what it is, right? To me, but you tear up that parking lot, that field, all that green grass, those ditches. It's a lot of money to get that back right, and I just wonder if that had anything to do with it. Not saying it does or not. Not that either one of us have heard that, but would be interesting to know if it does get canned. Then let's see what happens.
Yeah. And I wonder if they'll ever bring back the old Mountaineer on Zach Nolan's road.
I would say where was that, because I remember.
They started doing like music festivals and raves and stuff out there.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember the name Mountaineer years ago. I
Yeah.
don't think I ever went to that property. But I was talking to, I think it was Connor Smith about the Mountaineer, and I was describing a track, and he was describing a track, and it was two completely different places.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember the town that it was in, but it was down this long gravel road, and Zach Nolan lived on that road.
Yeah.
And Dustin Simpson won top am there,
nice.
I think.
So
He's definitely on top am podium, but I think he won top am. But that place was rocky. Very
Yeah.
rocky.
I mean, fuck. So is Mountaineer.
I guess that earns the title of Mountaineer. It was somewhere in West Virginia. But I guess, according to our YouTube comments, we need to get to silly season. We're losing people. And that is one thing that we want to talk about. There's just a lot to talk about. I mean, there was a lot going on. And but getting into silly season, one thing that you and I talked about beforehand, and one thing that I remain adamant about, is that one of the biggest surprises this year, last year I feel like we had a lot of change, a lot of swapping, a lot of stuff going on, where I feel like it was the most movement that we've seen of like people changing brands, changing teams, going elsewhere, going here, going there. This year, I think the most surprising thing about silly season is how many people do not have a ride. How many top riders are with zero support. And it's also weird because I think it's great that there's so many amateur programs. But there are so many amateur kids that are making XC2 money
In A class.
to race the A class. And race the A class maybe in A classes that they've won 2 championships in already. And it's not a slight on them, and it goes back to the same exact thing we were talking about before. If you can make your money, you're going to make your money.
Yeah.
But there is more amateur riders making salary and making bonuses and getting bikes and getting support. Meanwhile, some of the top guys in the sports do not have a ride.
But I think it's on the amateur guys that I think some of those guys want to move up, and I think they're being told not to.
Yes. And the person that I did just mention,
that does happen.
the person that I did just mention is one of those people in that situation. So I didn't want them, like, it's not their fault. But what I'm getting at is that it's a weird moment that we're in where that is happening, and there is this amateur sport, and there's so many pro riders without a ride. And I think at the top of that list, you got a few guys at the top of that list. They're all at the top of the list. It's a shared top of the list. But we've talked about it before. Josh Strang. Josh Strang is one of 3. I have 4 now. So, point is, he's a former champion. He's a former GNCC champion. He is a former ISDE world champion. He is a Sprint Enduro champion. He just won a Sprint Enduro, came down to the wire for the championship at a Sprint Enduro event, or at a Sprint Enduro series. He finished the year with a podium at Buckwheat and a win at the Ironman. The last few years, we've seen him in contention of race. He's won a race every year the past 3 years. He is still a guy.
One of them with a broken arm.
Yeah. Yeah, his first race back at the Penton.
Yep.
But he is from everything that I believe and can consider, I would say the second biggest draw in the sport as far as like fan support and reach and that kind of thing. Thad also big in that market as well. But Strang, there's been, I don't know, just the way that he ended the season and his credentials and the fact that he's not a guy hanging around in 10th place, like trying to milk it for everything it's worth. Like, he proved that he can still win races. He proved that he's still competitive, and he proved that he's still going to work hard and go after it. So it blows my mind that someone like him doesn't have an offer on the table. Thad Duvall. If it wasn't for a fella named Caleb Russell, how many championships would Thad Duvall have? Because in those years, there was nobody close to Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell. They were being third place by minutes, multiple minutes.
There was a minute and a half ahead on the first lap.
Yeah. And so you look at him, he is without a ride, which Thad will be the first to tell you that he's had some injuries. He's been injury prone. He's had some issues the past several years. But, I mean, and they both have age on their side, but neither one of them are old. Neither one of them are still got plenty of juice left. So Thad Duvall without a ride. Josh Toth. We saw Toth take this year away, from my understanding, turn down a factory ride to go do what he did, and he had success. He had success in the National Enduros. I think he won at least one National Enduro. And then he went and did all the other stuff and proved that he can still be competitive. Former XC2 champion, XC1 competitor, should have won a race. We all know that story. He is without a ride. Evan Smith.
So, Toth, he's not doing the same thing again next year? The Ryan Sipes deal?
From my understanding, he is not. And I've heard conflicting things about that. So I don't really want to speak about it speak on it from what I'm getting at. And this is all hearsay. This is alleged information.
Disclaimer.
To the best of my knowledge.
The disclaimer.
Things that I have heard. So I'm not saying these things, looking at the camera. I'm not saying these things. I am just putting out what I have heard in the universe. And I believe to keep that deal, they wanted him to race all the GNCCs.
And the National Enduros.
And I heard that he did not want to race GNCCs full time. The conflicting information of that is now I'm hearing that he does want to race GNCCs full time. So I've heard all sorts of stuff from all sorts of people as it relates to Toth. So I don't know what the deal is there. Lane Michael. Lane Michael is another guy that has all the speed in the world. Lane Michael can barely pick his hand up out of his pocket and still rode to a third place finish third place in Pro 1, fourth place overall at the Sprint Enduro. He had to show up and race to get that Sprint Enduro title, where he won yet another Sprint Enduro title. He's led laps at several races this year. He's proved he's a guy that has the speed to win. And I think he was on the podium this year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he finished second. Almost won that, the Mason-Dixon, the Dusty.
That's right,
one.
yeah.
He almost won it.
Yeah.
When they lapped me, he was leading.
Yeah.
And I did a double take. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, shit.
He was leading an Ironman, too, for a little bit, I think.
Did he race Ironman?
Yeah. He pulled off from his shoulder. He hit a tree and hurt his shoulder again and pulled off. No, buckwheat.
I was about to say.
Buckwheat, yeah. And he didn't race Ironman because of the full gas.
Yep.
But anyway, same thing. Like, he's had some run-ins with the injury bug. But he also, and I think it's public knowledge, I think he said it on the full gas podium, but I don't think he ever got a shoulder fixed before. I think he just let it heal and come back. And I think this offseason he plans to get it fixed. So that could go a long way as well. But he is a guy that doesn't have a ride. A guy that we saw come over here and do very well this season, also battled the injury bug a little bit, but came back from it, Mason Simmons. Last year was a little bit more of a difficult run at him, but he kind of figured it out, got it all together, came back this year, was on the podium, was in contention for race wins, showed the speed that he has, and showed that he is learning that system. And when you look at these guys that have come over and trained with Josh Strang, Lyndon came over. I'll just get this thought out. Lyndon came over. That first race at Ironman almost won the thing. But outside of that, like, had some issues that first year, like the growing pains, getting used to the 3 hour, getting used to the East Coast tracks, American tracks, kind of worked his way into it and then had some success late in the year. Well, now, fast forward 2 years later, he was the XC1 or XC2 champion. And now he's moving up to XC1. Angus Reardon comes over here, has some growing pains that first year, shows some glimmers, leads the overall at Camp Coker for a little bit, and then blows himself out, goes back, but then has some up and down results, but shows that glimmer of success. This year, He came down to the wire to the final round to win the XC2 championship. He was winning races. He was in contention for race wins. He was on the podium and getting it done. I think next year, I would not be surprised at all if Angus Reardon won that championship. Mason Simmons last year had an up and down year all over the place. This year had more success, trending in the right direction, leading laps, being in the front packs, being in the group of those races. I think you look at that and go into next year, he's basically at the point where he's not coming back from Australia unless he has a ride. And if I'm running a team that's hiring an XC2 rider, that is a guy that can win.
I think I would agree. He's on the right trajectory from what you just laid out to challenge for podiums and a win next year. If he can come back, I think he'll be back. Riding for who and what, I don't know. But I think Mason also struggled with some homesickness. I think at one point he was kind of over it over here and wanted to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with him right before he left, he wants to be here, and I think that big Ironman race and that amount of people there, one, he was kind of in awe of the really, it was kind of eye opener of how big racing in America is.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he's like, I want to be back. I want to be. This is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. So, I think if there's an opportunity to be here, he'll be back. I think he'll be back.
Yeah,
and hopefully in 2024, because obviously that's the best thing. He doesn't need to take a year off.
Yeah.
From GNCC, but if not in 2024, hopefully 25, but soon. But I think I just got a good feeling he'll be back.
But I mean, same thing too is he is in a little bit different situation than everybody else that's on this list and everybody else that doesn't have a ride, because all these other guys, and there's still a couple more to mention too, but all these other guys can buy a bike and show up at the races, and then they're here. And if someone gets hurt, hey, come on over. Mason Simmons is not in that situation. He is at a point where if he doesn't have a ride, he can't come back.
Right.
I mean, that's
part of being a foreigner. I mean, that's really, I guess when it really gets down, that could be visa issues. I don't know how that works, but I wouldn't say you have to be employed to. I don't know.
No, not necessarily from that standpoint, but just from like a monetary standpoint.
Yeah,
like
that too.
Evan Smith, he's a guy that we're going to talk about. He's another guy that doesn't have a ride. He's a guy that in a lot of races this year outperformed the team and had good rides. He's a guy that wanted to move up to XC1 this year and wasn't able to. And then he moved up the last 3 rounds and had some solid rides. I think we only got to see him twice because he was really sick at Ironman, but he rode that bike well. And he had his best overall finishes of the year on that bike. And he was really coming into his own. And he'll be the first to tell you he doesn't ride a 2-stroke well. Evan Smith on a 4-stroke was winning full gas days when it was full gas. He won a full gas championship on the 252-stroke. But competitive in National Enduro, he got 5th place overall at the last National Enduro, riding that 480 in the woods in National Enduro. So he's a guy that I think put in the results and showed the glimmers that even if it's not XC2, like I think XC1 Evan Smith is going to be even better. But what I'm getting at is Evan Smith lives in Georgia. Evan Smith can go buy a couple of Huskies and show up at the GNCCs and figure out where he stands, especially like you mentioned, us living in the South, we get the first 5 as a gimme. And then you can kind of readjust and go from there and determine if you want to keep going north and do the rest of the season. Mason Simmons isn't just in Georgia that can pack up a bike and go. He's got to come across the world, buy a bike, spend the money to be here in hopes that he can get something.
Mm-hmm. Right, and doesn't have anything to fall back on.
Yeah.
That's in the States.
Yeah.
So.
Brody Johnson is another one. Brody Johnson won the amateur overall, setting the world on fire. Top 15 rides pretty regularly. Getting up near the XC2 podium from the A class. the next big thing. Like, Brody was supposed to be like the next guy. And then he gets hurt, breaks his leg. His leg won't heal, won't grow back together, can't come back.
You know about that.
Yeah. Well, luckily mine grew back together. But Brody was one of the first people I talked to like figure out what to be taken to get it to heal. But that was when he was 16 years old. So then he misses a year, comes back late in that season, and I think that's when he broke his wrist. It was either that year or the following year. But then comes back, races XC3, dominates his way to an XC3 title, won every race that his bike finished, and wins that XC3 title. And then I think broke his wrist again or had another injury again that he had to come back from. But Brody was the guy that was going to be the next big thing. And Brody is a guy that now is getting that confidence back, getting that health back. And we saw him ride his best rides of the season late this year. I think he got 5th place at Ironman. And even at the Mid-East, he's been on the Mid-East podium consistently. He's chasing those guys down. And the Mid-East pros are the top AMs in the nation. It's Mike DeLosa, who won the top AM last year. It's Zach Davidson. It's all these guys. Nick DeFeo, who won it this year. Tyler Palmer, who's in the mix. And Brody Johnson is now chasing those boys down and getting on these Mid-East podiums. So he's a guy that was at the top and was the hot commodity and signed with that Magna 1 team and then ran through the ringer with these injuries and now is bouncing back and coming back. But he is a guy that could get right back to that spot, and he doesn't have a ride. But it's the same thing. Like a guy like Brody can go out and buy some Hondas or whatever he wants to buy and race the first 5 rounds for $1,000.
Yep.
Mason Simmons got to buy a $1,000 plane ticket to get here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then find out transportation, bikes, and everything once he's here. So
it's moving a life across the world to race dirt bikes.
Yeah, which is hard when you have a guaranteed job and a guaranteed ride. It's even harder to come over here. Well, no, what if?
It's damn near impossible.
So
hopefully something works out. Like I said, I think something will. I know when he gets here, obviously he's got a good support crew and family with the rear ends to stay with and support with the strings and all that stuff. And
so hopefully we can see him back over
I
here.
think so. Did you, going back to that, did you drop some news on somebody that won't be back on a factory team? Kind of hinted at it.
Won't be back on a factory.
Somebody that wants to be an XC1.
Someone that wants to be an XC1. Evan?
Yeah.
What news?
Did you? It kind of sounded like you was talking like he wasn't going to be riding on a beta next year.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's one of the guys without a ride.
Okay.
He did not get re-signed.
No.
And Beta, very close friends of the show. Beta Motorcycles are the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. The Beta race team is my extended race family. There's no way I could do what I do without the Beta race team. That being said,
say what you need to say. Kiss ass first, and then let's say it. Let's hear it.
Gotta butter them up.
Yep.
But I don't understand what's going on over there. And I don't think that I'm the only one. And here's my spiel about Beta. This was a bad one to start off with.
Say it with your chest.
But this is silly season. That fella in the YouTube comments wanted silly season. Here we are.
You got to make somebody mad. I
don't want to make them mad. I got a call with them on Friday.
That's 2 days. 2 days. Wait.
But you look, and like I said, Evan Smith had good rides. Evan Smith, I think, should have been an XC1. But I'm not the one making those decisions. Evan Smith is the only one on the team this year that did not get re-signed. And Jonathan Johnson, from my understanding, allegedly, was close to being on the chopping block until he won that race.
It's right behind you.
There's Jonathan. He's in the overall lead right there. Actually, no, Evan Smith was in the overall lead, and Jonathan Johnson was in second. So, but Jonathan won that race, and then he got a contract. They just signed Jack Walker, Jahk.
Who?
Jack Walker. Coincidentally, I watched a Mountaineer video from 2019. They said his name. That's besides the point. He's a young kid. But they signed him for XC3. I think he won like every XC3 race that Toby Cleveland didn't win. So, like, he will be an XC3 contender. I would dare to say that he is going to be the XC3 champion, provided all things go well. He's a young kid. He's never rode a 4-stroke. He just came off of mini bikes to 125s, so right there in his element. I think he could be a championship guy. Jay Lipscomb got signed by Beta for an XC2 deal.
Lipscomb or Liscomb?
Lipscomb.
No
Lippy.
Lisp. No Lisp. Does he got a Lisp?
I don't think so.
If he did have a Lisp, that would be a very easy joke to make.
Yeah.
Lispcomb. Lispcomb.
Be hard for him to say, too. So, Lippy got a deal in
Lippy.
XC2.
Lippy, not Lispy. Lippy.
I love
I
Jay.
hope you don't have a Lisp.
I love Jason Lipscomb. He's a very nice guy. But he won this race right here, Georgia, that's on behind us. He won that race. That was his only XC3 victory the whole time he's been with Beta. And I'm not saying that Jay Lipscomb doesn't deserve a ride. And I shouldn't have even got to this point because now it's going to be super awkward. But when you look at this list of people that don't have a ride, that's where it starts getting confused at. And Jonathan Johnson, he's had good rides. He's been right there on the front and then had some issues where he couldn't finish races or didn't finish races, blah, blah, blah. He ends up getting a race win this year. He has a really good year this year when you look at it. He's riding good, doing all that. But Evan Smith doesn't get re-signed. And the only thing, as it relates to Beta, is next year they are moving into Supercross and Motocross. They signed Colt Nichols and they signed Benny Bloss. They're getting into Supercross and Motocross. The biggest portion of this sport, of dirt bikes, is going to be introduced to Beta for the first time. A lot of people might have heard of Betas, don't know anything about them. A lot of people are going to be hearing about Betas for the very first time ever. And the thing is all these people that are just hearing about Betas and are seeing it on Supercross and seeing Colt Nichols, they're going to be looking up Beta motorcycles. And the first thing when you look up a Woods bike is you're going to look up where they are supposed to be good at. You know what I mean? So if Beta is coming from the Woods and they are the premier Woods bike, and now all of a sudden they're in Supercross and Motocross and people are looking up these bikes, they're going to look at what Beta does best. And when they come to that GNCC team, that should be at the forefront of everyone's mind is what does Beta do best? Let's look at them in the Woods. And when you look at guys like Josh Strang, that is an XC1 contender. That is a guy with a following. That is a guy that can build a brand. Think about, we've talked about it before on the show, 5 years ago, how many Kawasaki's were at GNCCs? Not many.
At least one.
But, like, you didn't see him. And then Josh and Jordan
not a
came
lot,
on,
no.
and now Cowies are pretty common. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Josh, even when things weren't going all hunky-dory on the team, was still a team guy. He was still promoting the brand. He was still a team player. You know what I mean? And I don't know. When you look at a guy like that, like, I don't know, you look at a guy like Thad, like Toth, like Lane Michael, like Mason Simmons, like those guys, it just, I don't know. I've kind of talked myself into a hole now, and I wish this wasn't live so I could go back and retract half of everything that I just said. But, like, with Beta, like, just imagine, like, a guy like Josh Strang. You got that guy leading the program because now he can take those guys under his wing and kind of teach them and build them up.
He brings a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
And anybody, like, not just Josh, but Thad Wood.
Yeah.
Anybody that has been an established off-road guy for years. I mean, both of them, 10-plus years.
Yep.
To what you're saying, somebody like that would be very good for the brand.
Yeah, I think so too. But there was something else that I was going to piggyback off of that. Thad, before he went to Gas, it was rumored that he was going on to Beta. Like, I kept hearing everyone from Beta because he lives like right down the road from the Beta shop in Ohio. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like something like that would make sense, especially a year that you're going all in, that you're building a brand, that you're getting out into the public mainstream, you're getting out into Supercross, and you're getting out into motocross. To have a guy that is a veteran of the sport, that is someone like a Thad, like a Strang, like any of those guys, really, I think, or like Toth. Beta has a bike for everything.
Yeah.
He can go ride hard enduro. He can go ride motocross. There's a 450 now. Like there's a ton of that. Plus, also to have that experience, you have this brand new 450 bike that you can bring one of these guys in and help develop. Get them in the XC1 class riding that purpose-built motocross bike, that 450, and helping develop that bike and make it better. And I think getting all those guys working together, I don't know. It just seems like something like that would make sense. But as far as the teams that are changing and the things that we do know, and by the way, I love Beta motorcycles. They're known for their premium quality and rideability. They are the best-looking bikes on the market. Head over to BetaUSA.com. Shout out Beta. Anyway. And, I mean, that's the thing, too. Like,
It's okay. There's only 17 people watching right now.
Yeah.
So,
But you look at the teams that are going on that are changing. I think the top of everyone's list is what is Stu Baylor doing? Because that seems to be the question at all times. What have you heard?
I ain't heard shit. No, it sounds like he's not going to be on a KTM. I'm sure he's still doing his own deal. Seems like that's what he likes to do. But it doesn't sound like he'll be on a KTM.
No.
I don't know that he wants to be on a KTM.
So Stu is the one that challenged us with the silly season in the last show that we did together. He said he was interested in our silly season thing.
He wants to know what you know about him, is what he said.
That's what he said?
Yeah, he wants to know what you know that's correct, what you know that's wrong. And he said
I think about everybody, though.
And he said that in the years past, you've pretty much hit it all nail on the head. So, I guess you speak the truth.
Well,
you speak the gospel.
I try
what everybody says.
I try to do my due diligence and be somewhat journalistic. And I've talked about it before. Kind of go through different avenues before put anything out in the public. That being said, as it relates to Stu Baylor, I have pretty good sources
Who would that
on
be?
what he's doing.
Yeah.
But
would evidently be a skinnier version of me.
So from what I've heard and what's floating through the rumor mill is that Stu will still be running his own program. From what I hear, it sounds like Teely is out.
Oh, shit.
So that whole thing came about, the Teely Energy Race team. It sounds like that is not going to be part of the program next year. I think that's going to be a split from what I'm hearing.
So will there still be a Teely effort at all, or he's just Todd's out?
So I will say I talked to Todd at Iron Man. I'll go ahead and give that source up. Not about that. But I think next year he's kind of going to bring it back to the roots and just go with his son. Like Ty Ely is one of the he's an A-class rider, and he's been at it for a while, and he's had a lot of progression in the sport. So I think Todd's going to dial it back and focus more on that. And as far as like helping out other people, I don't know about that, but it sounds like that's the route he's going to take. But I don't know. I think that RM is going to stick on board from what I hear and what I know. But I have heard that there's going to be yet another bike change, bike swap, bike color change, branding.
Suzuki.
Yes. No, Triumph.
On a 250.
No.
Yeah.
No, so from everything we know, it's going to be Kawasaki's. We were just talking about Kawasaki's being in the woods. There's going to be another team of Kawasaki's in the woods from what it sounds like. I'm not saying that is fact for any lawyers listening out there. But it does seem like that team to be determined what the name of it is, because it's not Teely Energy. I'm pretty sure that, like I said, RM is going to stay on board. But it sounds like they're going to be on Kawasaki's. And there's also been another shakeup with that team in that, from what I'm hearing, Rachel Archer, who back-to-back GNCC championships, will be heading over to that team as well. So Rachel Archer, theoretically, would be making the move over to Kawasaki as well from the Yamahas that she's been on since she's been here.
She did just post on Instagram that I haven't ridden since Ironman, and she's getting real itchy. Hashtag silly season.
So, hashtag silly season. You want to hear something silly? She wasn't able to race full gas or mid-east. She showed up at mid-east. A couple rounds ago, she showed up at mid-east, raced the pro class. First girl I know of that raced the pro class. Shattered her whole foot on the first lap, so she didn't get to finish. But she came out to the money race at Hickory to race, but she didn't have a bike. They took her bikes back. But her contract...
I did not know that she showed up to a race.
Yeah. Well, I think she wanted to. I think she would have. Because we're talking about all that money on the line and everyone's at National Enduros. But
I kind of feel like an ass because I 100% asked her if she was racing at airport.
What'd she say?
I saw her there and I said, you racing today? She said, nope, I don't have a bike.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that contract goes until December. But they asked for their bikes back early.
But is she contracted to race what? Right. So the contract's through. She's contracted to race a series, but the contract runs through date after the series. So what you get what I'm saying? Like
I don't think the contract ends at the end date of the series. I think the contract runs through November 31st. Is what I'm saying.
But are you allowed to race races outside of your contract? That was where I was getting to.
I would think if you have, but she's not out of her contract. That's what I'm saying. Because she isn't riding her new bikes. Yeah. Why isn't she riding her new bikes? Because she's still got a contract with her old employer.
Doesn't sound like she has any new bikes.
That's what I mean. Because she can't because she's still under contract. So that's the weird part.
Yeah.
So I just think, like, she brought you 2 championships. She won other races, other series. Like, why don't you give the bikes back when your contract's up? I don't know. We're going to talk about that team here in a second as well, about some more stuff going on. So that's what we're hearing. And then, so Stu on Cowies doing his own thing. Rachel Archer allegedly joining Stu's team on Cowies.
And some of the guys we talked about earlier maybe linked to that too.
Yes.
For an XC2 spot.
Pretty much every single. Oh, you're jumping right into it. Every single person that we mentioned that is a free agent that does not have a ride has had a conversation with Stu about filling another spot. So there is going to be an additional spot on that team, theoretically. But that is, at this point, to be determined. Whether it could be
who it is or what class.
So from what I've heard, I think the class is definitely going to be XC2. And now you might be scratching your head right now because we talked about Thad Duvall, Josh Strang, Josh Toth, Evan Smith, Lane Michael, Mason Simmons, Brody Johnson. All but 2 of them are XC1 guys. And so you heard me correctly. I think that final spot is going to be for an XC2 rider, but it could be any one of those guys. And when you look at the XC2 rules for GNCC, I think it's a direct exploit of that. When we talk about the XC2, when Stu came on, we talked about why people aren't moving up from XC2. The rules are written to where you don't have to.
This is so hypocritical, by the way. Just want to point this out. I've heard Stu on here how many times bitch and cuss and go on and on and on about the people running the XC2 class for money. And here he is going to support an XC2 rider, going to support an XC1, potentially support an XC1 rider moving back down to XC2. Just pointing that out there.
Yeah. No, that's accurate.
And I don't know Stu. You know him way, y'all are buddies. Seems like somebody could take that comment for what it's worth. Right? Because call it like it is. He how many times has he said, well, move up to XC1. Move up to XC1.
Yeah.
You want to be a lifetimer XC2 or you want to be run with the big dogs, win the big races. Well, now you're taking one of the big dogs and potentially taking one of the big dogs and, oh, yeah, I'll support you in XC2.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's out of his control, but he's the face of it. It's his team. It's what he says. He's preached it all year.
I don't think it's out of his control. But to play devil's advocate.
So if it's not out of his control, what the hell, Stu?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But to play devil's advocate, the other thing that he mentioned in that show, first of all, since that show came out, 4 people moved from XC2 to XC1. I don't think that's a coincidence. It might be, but I'm claiming it. Mike Wachowski, Ryder Lafferty, who almost won his first race.
Forgot about Ryder. Is he riding for Coastal? They introduced him at Ironman on an XC gear gas, not a Coastal gas. Don't know if you caught that or not.
I did not catch that. But look who's doing that.
Yeah.
I was rewatching some of the starts, and in the industry class, it was announced that a championship was on the line for that row. So, I think you're reading too far into that. I think that was just a mistake. I've also heard people be called the wrong name on the podium but anyway.
And
I digress.
XC2 champs.
Yeah.
Announced.
Championships given away rounds early.
Race before.
Jeez, Tom, setting me up here. So who do we mention? Mike Wachowski moves up. Ryder Lafferty moves up. Lyndon Snodgrass moves up, which his was inevitable, but he did it early. I think that was in the cards anyway. Whatever, still happened after our show. Hey, Lyndon. Evan Smith moves up. So ever since that show,
Mike, Evan, Lyndon, Ryder.
Yeah. But to go back to what we were talking about, to play devil's advocate, the other thing that Stu talked about in favor of people being in XC2 is, one, these guys that are able to make XC1 money or make good money in XC2 and also get those bonuses, why would they move up? But from a race team's perspective, the other thing that Stu brought up, if you remember that show, do you remember what was the reasoning Stu gave for all these manufacturers signing XC2 guys? When we talked about like the same, or that there's multiple teams on Pro Row that have XC2 only. Do you remember what the main reason was that he argued for the manufacturers doing that?
For racing XC2?
Yeah, for hiring XC2 guys.
Because they think they have a potential to win. I
Well,
don't
no.
know.
Basically, but going one step farther than that is podium pictures. Getting riders on the podium. That is what the manufacturers look for. So they can say that they got these podiums, so they can be in the pictures of them on the podium, so they can get representation on the podium. And now Stu, wearing the hat of team manager, if he can get a guy on that XC2 podium, because you think about it, realistically, Caleb Wood just announced that he is racing Cowies. So he switched from KTM to Cowies. That's Stu's cousin. He is also the overall youth champion this year. Rachel Archer.
From a B class. Or from a second row.
Yeah. Rachel Archer won 2 straight GNCC championships. She is now on Stu's team. They don't make a 125, so there's no XC3 rider. Stu Baylor has been in contention for 2 out of the last 3 championships and could very well win the championship next year. And so if he had an XC2 guy that could also win a championship, imagine you win the youth overall, the WXC title, the XC2 title, and the XC1 title.
It's a lot of what ifs.
It is a lot of what ifs. But I think from a team owner perspective, he's looking at, or a team manager, owner, whatever, that's the perspective he would look at it from. And I'm not speaking for him by any means. I'm just, because, I mean, I argued every single one of Stu's points about it and just kind of playing devil's advocate, but just looking at it from his standpoint. But it also, I think the best thing that can come of this is, let's say it's Thad Duvall. And Thad Duvall goes back and dominates XC2 and wins the championship. I hope that that will exploit how silly the rules are in XC2, and maybe the rules will change and force some people into XC1, because it looks crazy to have 6 people in XC1 and 28 people in XC2. So maybe that could exploit. When Jason Thomas exploited the rule and went back down and raced XC2, the next year, bam, there was a rule change. Jason Thomas and anyone over 24 years old could no longer race XC2. So maybe
that beer was sticky. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it was sticky.
Jason Thomas wasn't able to go back down to XC2 and win the championship. Maybe Thad Duvall is, and it sparks change that changes everyone and gets everyone into XC1 from XC2. That, I think, is the best case scenario that can come out of the situation. But it would be a little bit hypocritical to the public eye. I'll give you that. And it'd be a little bit crazy. But
somebody's got to call him out on it.
Well, now we got both sides of that situation. So that covers that. One thing that we kind of talked about on the Instagram Live one is it seems as if Trail Jesters is no more, which really stinks because Ross started that Trail Jesters team. It kind of started New England base, and he's helped a lot of riders. He helped Josh Toth. He helped Ben Kelly. He helped Corey Steed, Jesse Ainsley win some championships. Jimmy Dakotas over on the moto side. Mason Simmons came over from Australia, had a Trail Jesters ride. There's been a lot of people that have been helped. Grant Davis. What's that other kid?
Simon Johnson.
That one.
Evidently, he's still riding for Trail Jesters this year, but on a Yamaha. But that's who they think.
For like
Mason-
J-Day, right?
You're not get what I'm saying. Simon rode a Yamaha this year, not for Trail Jesters at all. Nothing to do with Trail Jesters KTM.
Yeah.
But the people that call our races thought he was still racing for Trail Jesters.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
Dude,
anyway,
you got a personal bone to pick with the Racer TV crew, don't you?
it's not personal. it's do your job, do it well. You're representing a lot of people,
And that is in the public.
and it's just
But-
making it's not making me look dumb by calling them out for stuff they're screwing up. They're the ones making themselves look dumb in front of thousands of people every other weekend. So it's not me. I'd tell them to their face. Somebody needs to.
Everybody listening that is going to go recall these things and send it to these people, just make sure you tell them to start like 20 minutes in so they don't hear any of our ISDE coverage. Because that's different.
But we're not there covering the
Yeah.
ISDE.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid by. Is that FIM?
What?
Who
ISDE?
sanctions that ISDE?
FIM.
Okay, yeah. See, look, we know something. We're not getting paid by them. We're not getting paid by the World Enduro Series to cover World Enduro or know those people.
Yeah.
You know who is getting paid to cover GNCC? The announcers for
Yeah.
Racer TV and for GNCC. And they don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't. They don't. Sorry.
No, I mean, that is feedback
Am
that
I wrong?
seems pretty regular. And
Am I wrong?
no.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to talk myself into a hole. So, yeah, I mean,
That's fine. Don't.
that
don't.
seems to be
It's just-
the trending consensus.
Yeah.
Even to the point where they like cut off some of the YouTube comments and like kick people out of the YouTube comments because the
Do they
general
really?
consensus
really?
seems to more agree with maybe your perspective.
Let's just say that I've heard from people that are involved in the XC1, XC2 classes that their riders or their people, they don't know who they are or
Yeah.
what kind of camelback they wear. They get that wrong.
I forgot about the Simon Johnson thing.
Or the riding styles, because the commentators seem to know every riding style, everybody, and what type of camelback they wear.
Especially Simon Johnson running third place all day at Ironman.
Or
That was Mason Simmons, by the way.
not Ironman, buckwheat.
I keep getting those ones confused.
So
No, and I mean,
has
also,
Simon Johnson even raced GNCC this year?
not that I'm aware
Yeah,
of.
well, he did it at buckwheat
Really good.
on the 118 machine.
But yeah,
Maybe
and-
they know something we don't.
so
And it
it's-
wasn't Mason. It was Simon on Mason's bike with his with Mason's camelback style, his riding style, and his transponder.
Yeah. I'm not trying to create enemies, but everything that I say gets interpreted the wrong way anyway, so it is what it is.
I'm not trying to create enemies. I'm trying to better the sport
Yeah. No, I mean,
because they're not doing
like I
it.
said, that consensus seems to
better
be
stop.
true across the board. And there's like 8 Busch Light cans over here too. But no, so
Well, maybe they just don't know.
that would be the only thing that they don't know. No, but me too, like being like announcing for Mideast, announcing for Racer TV before. I was the broadcast producer for the Racer TV shows before. Pretty involved in the sport. So these are things that I get approached with all the time. And I just choose not to talk about it because Tim Carter texted you earlier. If you can get back to me, that'd be cool. there's things that, like, I don't know. In my level of sport, like, that is obviously a position that I would love to have. Whenever Rodney retired, I truly and honestly, and I've told several people this in that organization, that I felt like I was the perfect fit to roll over into that role. And I truly believe that, and I truly believe that there's nobody that could replace Rodney. But I do truly also believe that I could be the closest.
Oh,
And I probably shouldn't say that, but
I want to clear up my comments. The guy that took over Rodney's job, the 10 seconds, Mikey. I think Mikey does a great job.
Yeah.
It's the other idiots in the Racer TV booth.
Yeah.
That I don't think do a good job. So,
Mikey does do a great job at what Mikey does.
yeah.
And once again, this is going to be misconstrued because it's me saying it, but Mikey on the podium cannot be beat.
Yeah.
Mikey was great at the podiums. Mikey was great pit reporting. Mikey was great doing all of that stuff, and they put him into Rodney's role, and I think Mikey is more suited for what Mikey was doing.
I don't think he does Rodney's bad.
No, and
You're not going to replicate the 10 seconds call.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to be Rodney.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to. It's never going to be. Rodney's retired. Rodney's done. He's retired.
Mm.
You're not going to match that.
No.
You're better off not trying to match it.
Mm.
But I think Mikey does a good job with like you just said, with what Mikey does, what Mikey needs to do. He does a good job.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that Rodney didn't go out on the podiums. Rodney didn't interact with the guys. Rodney
He used to.
Yeah, like sometimes when he wanted to. But Rodney does the stuff on the start line, and then he's the play-by-play throughout the broadcast. And Mikey, like I said, not having Mikey on the podiums, I think is a discredit because he is so good at them. Mikey is so good with people.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a talker. I'm watching the
Was this
video.
the loop out debacle?
Yeah.
This is when Grant almost got his win taken away?
Yeah.
Tim Carter.
Call me.
Yeah.
Don't call me. Call Tyler.
But anyway, so
I forgot all about that.
didn't mean to get off on that tangent. And the other people in the booth, I like them. I'm friends with them. I see them at the races. I enjoy their company.
Don't make me say it again.
But there's a job.
Just suck at what they
There's
do.
a job there to be done. Anyway,
I think they're better on the foiler side.
this whole thing is going to be the takeaway of this entire show.
Who cares?
I care a little bit. But
Well, let's go blow somebody out on the silly season.
no. So that's where we got back to the trail jesters thing. It sucks that is going away. It also sucks that all the trail jester support people aren't being picked up because some of the trail jesters rider, and the way that I first heard it explained is that Magna 1 was going to take over the trail jesters program. But I don't think that's the case because there's only one trail jesters rider going over to the Magna 1 team. So it's not that the Magna 1 team is taking over the trail jesters rider or taking over that program because they basically told everybody else to kick rocks. And that is me just speaking out of turn. That's not a legitimate thing. That's just like hyperbole.
So
Because-
other than Mason, who's not landing a spot?
Simon Johnson. Corey Steed, Mason Simmons.
I think Corey's gonna be fine.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So the Magna 1 team is, from what I understand, is going to switch to KTM. So they're going to be switching brands as well, theoretically, from what we hear, to KTMs. Excuse me, and keeping Grant Davis, who we saw come on at the end of the year, and signing Angus Reardon, who Gus Reardon's been over here riding for the RPM KTM team because that was the team. They're more prominent out west.
Nope, that's the Trail Jesters team. Remember, the announcers told us.
Oh my god!
I can't help myself.
So Gus, in fact, rode for RPM KTM, regardless of what you may heard on broadcast. How did this happen? This was not even planned.
It was not.
You just came out of left field with this. And I don't know how to be anything but honest. I'm sorry. So, Gus Reardon, Grant Davis, Magna 1 KTM is what it seems like it's going to shape up to be. As we mentioned, Angus Reardon, I think, is absolutely a title contender. I think Grant Davis is on the verge of being a title contender, if you can put it all together. He's also young, and it was his first year racing XC2 two as well. So you might say, where does that leave Jordan Ashburn? And what a weird transition for that Magna 1 team. Last year, they won both XC1 titles on top of the world. And then now this whole transition is happening. But so that's going to put Jordan Ashburn out of a spot at Magna 1. And from what I hear, he is going to be taking Thad Duvall's place. And I'm not saying he's directly kicking Thad out, but Thad is gone. Jordan Ashburn is in at the Coastal Gas team, from what I hear.
Is there an XC2 spot at Coastal?
To my knowledge, no. Because Ryder,
I hadn't even thought about that.
I think Ryder is going to be going up full time into XC1. I think that is his plan. From the brief conversation I had with him when he was racing XC1 this year.
Yeah.
Also moving up into XC1 full time is Mike Wachowski, who we saw him race Ironman in XC1. He's another guy. The same exact thing that I pitched about Liam Draper, the same exact thing that I talk all the time about Craig DeLong. I think Mike Wachowski is going to become a better version of himself in XC1. Especially now he's training with the Aussies a lot and training with Strang and with that crew, with Lyndon, with Gus, with Mason, with all these guys, Tyler. I think Mike Wachowski is going to see the same type of progression that Craig DeLong saw. I'm not saying that Mike Wachowski is going to win a championship next year, but I think he will become a better rider by moving to XC1. And he'll have all that XC1 support and eyes from that Phoenix Racing Honda team. You mentioned Corey Steed. Corey Steed sounds like is out at Trail Jesters. We do know that.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Trail Jesters is going away.
Yeah. So, from what it sounds like, I'll let you take this one. I haven't truly vetted this one.
It sounds like she may be on a Husqvarna.
In full disclosure, I did ask Corey directly. And she didn't tell me. She told me I would find out soon.
Yeah.
So shout out Corey Steed.
Well, you got in trouble last year for taking everybody's announcements away from them. So.
I didn't get in trouble. I'm just doing my job.
Yeah. That's what Stu told you to do.
Yeah. So, very preliminary hearings is potentially Rockstar Husky. But where does that leave Taylor Jones? That's one person I feel like hasn't been talked about or thought about. She's doing really good ISDE.
She's racing ISDE.
She's like a 18-time ISDE champion.
She might just be the official GNCC course. What was she doing?
Marshall.
Marshall.
While we're pissing everybody off,
Just throw somebody else in the fire.
let's throw. I don't care if I throw myself in the fire with these people. Patty from Patty Cam from National Enduro. From what I understand, is part owner of National Enduro with the new group that came in and bought it. Part owner. Patty showed up at the Mountaineer because Taylor Jones was hurt out of town. I think she was in Mexico racing or something for that track marshal thing that she's been doing. So they asked Patty if he could fill in. Patty came to one round. It was supposed to be one round, one event. As the taking over for Taylor because Taylor couldn't be there doing the track marshal thing. Patty got fired from National Enduro for being at one GNCC filling in for Taylor Jones at a track marshal thing. Yes.
I hadn't heard anything about that.
Yeah. Part owner and fired. Asked to not come back to the National Enduro Series.
Did he fire himself partly?
I guess there has to be some type of buyout clause or something.
Wow.
But how
The
absolutely
Paddy Cam-
ridiculous.
The Paddy Cam at the National Enduros was the best thing about the National Enduros.
Yeah. Well, now they got Brock Hepler doing it. But the reason Brock Hepler's
Thought
doing
he
it,
was racing.
he was supposed to be racing Pro 2.
He did have a big wreck, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now he's doing the Paddy Cam role because Paddy was let go because he went to one GNCC.
Yeah. Maybe GNC can get the Patty cam. You think? I
is-
think he's fast enough to do that. I don't know who Patty is.
Fast. He's
Is
good.
he fast enough to do it at GNCC though? You
Probably.
think that would work?
It's the same guys.
Yeah, but it's different tracks and it's not one at a time. You're jumping in with 10 people.
Yeah, but you're not asking to do it for 3 hours. You're asking him to do it for 4 turns.
Yeah. Barry used to do it. Barry Hawk.
Really?
Yeah, right after he retired. So
Anyway, you mentioned something about the track marshal thing. It made me think of it. That's ridiculous. What else we got? No trail dressers. One of the big things. So probably the biggest thing that came out of silly season last year was, I remember to this day, the first time I said something about this fella on the show, I said, I've been hearing that Zach Osborne is signing with Yamaha to race XC2. And I said it as a joke because I thought it was a joke.
because he was at the time, he was very involved with Husqvarna
Yeah.
and doing
He raced
all-
2 GNCCs on a Husky
on a factory Husky,
with Caleb.
and he was doing all. I remember this. He was doing all kinds of things like racing 2-stroke races at the West Coast and going to dealer events and stuff for Husky.
Yeah.
Very involved.
Yeah. Like signed from what I understand, a multi-year ambassador role.
Yep.
And then I hear Zacho might be coming to XC2 to race at Yamaha. And I remember saying it on the show because I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's no way that that is true.
It was.
And then, kind of like the Thad to Triumph thing, the next day my phone started blowing up of, why did you tell everybody that? Why did you release that? That wasn't supposed to, no one's supposed to know about that. And I was like, it's true? What? Like, I said it as a joke. I thought there was no way possible. And turned out I spoiled the whole thing. And because I heard from several people that would be in the know, like several people, everyone that told me would have a reason to know. But I was like, there's no way that's possible. Turned out to be true. Now, fast forward to this year, what does Zacho do? I don't think this is the year that Zacho planned on having.
What does Zacho do? What has Zacho done?
I don't think this year is the year that he planned on having.
He's had he started off the year very well. At that one sprint,
Yeah.
U.S. your favorite sprint Duro Series, the U.S. Sprint. What in that U.S. Sprint Duro?
I think it was the BS Sprinter.
Yeah. Well.
Billy Schlag.
Oh, okay. Not.
I don't know what you.
Billy Schlag Enduros.
Yeah.
Anyway, that one, the very first one he went to, he did good, and I remember. I think everybody was talking. How's the Zach off-road thing gonna go? How's it gonna go? Well, he showed up at the first sprint Enduro and killed it, and won. I think he won Enduro test. Obviously won some cross test, but won Enduro test over Johnny, I believe would have been Johnny, who was defending champ, one of the best sprinters off-road's got.
Yeah.
And beating him in Enduro test. Oh, it's gonna go great. Boom, gets hurt. And he ain't been worth the damn since. I mean, that's just being honest.
Unfortunate. Because right after that, he did blow his whole elbow out and had to get
Yep.
surgery and
Yep.
get rods and bars and screws. But I think we're past that now. Remember, I think people forgot about this too. Like, when he came back before summer break, it was so unexpected that they pulled him. Or I don't know if he pulled himself or they pulled him, but he didn't race the last couple races going into summer break.
Yeah, he wasn't doing good. It
Yeah.
wasn't good. It's not what I don't think it's what he wanted or what he expected.
But, like, I wonder why.
I don't know.
That's what I would like to know.
You know, he quit, and I've never spoke to the guy, never met him, don't know him, but he quit racing motocross and supercross because of a back injury.
Mm-hmm.
Now I understand that in supercross because all the G outs and that's a lot of compression, and I can understand that, but for motocross, and I remember it was during outdoors when, I believe, when he quit racing. I could be wrong. But you can't race supercross and motocross because of a back injury. and then you come to the gnarliest off-road, roughest tracks, race for 3 hours, and expect your back to be okay. Not saying that that's still an issue. He says that his back's better, but does that make sense to you? I mean, maybe it's not as strenuous. I don't know. I've never rode a supercross track.
I mean,
Never going to. So, and so maybe that's the deal. Maybe it's not as strenuous on your back, but I know racing these damn races hurts my back.
But I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know because he was on the show a couple times.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's part of his deal is he's having issues with that. I don't know. I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. He don't speak about it much.
I mean, you look
He
at
definitely hasn't come out and said that why he's had a bad year.
No,
But it hasn't gone good.
no, and like on his social media stuff, it just hadn't even been addressed,
No, that's kind of what I meant.
or like even the results really. But yeah, I don't know. Because he's been on the show a couple times, and he said he was training just like it was Supercross and approaching it the same exact way. And yeah, I think when he came in, I think everyone expected him to do pretty good. I mean, you look at Sipes when he came over, and there's been plenty of moto guys in the past, but this guy,
There's also been a lot of moto guys to do it that haven't done good.
yeah, but the majority of people that crossed over weren't 450 motocross champions and weren't 250 supercross champions and weren't guys that had success in MXGP. Like, we haven't seen in this generation, in this era, someone as accomplished as Zacho and Moto come over to off-road. We've seen less accomplished people come over and have success. We've seen less accomplished people come over and not have success. But I don't think that anyone would have expected this year to go the way that it did for Zacho. And kind of talking about how that whole thing kind of took over last year's silly season thing. Stuff I'm hearing now is that he might have offers on the table to go back to Supercross and Motocross. So that leaves a couple things in the air because, one, we talk about this whole list of riders that don't have a ride. Last year, we saw Yamaha cut a contract with Lane Michael. His contract wasn't up. He was still in contract and got let go of that contract. And from what I understand, it was cited about results. So now, Zacho, from what we hear, is the highest paid guy in the sport right now. I do too. We're going to wrap it up soon. So, but it's coming from a same team that cut Lane Michael after he won a national or a sprint enduro title. And so, like, how does this situation get handled? Because Zacho told us on this show that he signed an XC2 deal for this year to move into XC1 for next year. Well, now I don't think the results have been what they had in the books for it. So now next year, does he move into XC1? Does he stay in XC2? Does he take an offer to go race motocross, supercross, SMX, what have you? And if that does happen, who replaces that spot? Because that team is losing their WXC champion, Rachel Archer, and that team might be losing the highest paid guy on Pro Row, Zach Osborne. So then do they go after one of these guys that don't have a rod?
I would hope so.
I would hope so too. But, I don't know. So to recap, this is all alleged. This is not fact. This is just based off of information that we've heard about Stu and his team potentially switching over to Kawasaki's with Rachel Archer potentially joining that team and being on a Kawasaki as well. Corey Steed, very preliminary things. I'm saying this one with less confidence than anything else, but it sounds like might be Rockstar Husky. Still don't answer the question with Taylor Jones. What does she do? Because she's been Rockstar supported
for a long time.
But I know her goal was always to be in the rig. So,
well, something about the Corey thing, I wonder if she would be on the same kind of support as what Taylor had.
yeah. Which would make sense. I don't know. Jordan Ashburn, it seems, will be the guy over at Coastal Gas.
Yeah.
Or Gas, whatever that factory gas effort is. Magna 1, switching over to KTM, allegedly, signing Grant Davis and Gus Reardon. From what it sounds like, Trail Jesters is kaput, which I hope they find a way to stay around somehow. And then Zacho with a big question mark.
Did we miss anything?
We got Thad Duvall, Josh String, Josh Toth, Evan Smith, Lane Michael, Mason Simmons, Brody Johnson, all for hire to make your race team better.
What about you guys moving up out of XC? We covered XC2 to XC1.
I love Beta. I love Jay Lipscomb.
250A to XC2. You got one of them, Jay
Tyler Palmer,
Lipscomb, going to XC2.
but he's been in XC3, so he's going from XC3 to XC2. You got Jack Walker. He raced XC3 this year, I
Okay.
think.
Skinny's gonna run.
Tyler Palmer's going XC2 from 250A.
I think
Nick DeFeo and JoJo Cunningham both staying in 250A. Well, I guess Nick is moving to 250A.
Yep.
JoJo's staying in 250A. DeLosa, I believe, is staying in 250A. Someone else is moving back. Someone's moving from XC2 back to A class. Oh, someone just told me that. Who is it?
I don't know. They told you, not me.
I was just talking to somebody the other day about it. Someone's moving from XC2 back to 250A. But other than that, Craig DeLong sounds like he re-signed. I don't know why. He just won a championship. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. What?
I don't know.
Trevor Bollinger sporting my old TB 739 shirt. I believe he'll be in a contract year, but still a part of that Rockstar Husky team. No. I'm not going to talk about that.
Okay.
So I think that does just about cover it all. This show was way longer than intended. We've been going for 2.5 hours. So
Wow.
thank you for your time. Thanks for coming over.
What did I tell you when we sat down?
Yeah.
Told you you had 2 hours.
Now, when you said that, in my mind, I was thinking an hour. And now, here we are.
It's all good. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, dude. Finally got you in studio. We've talked about it for a while, so. Real quick, rapid fire.
Oh yeah.
I have a bad habit of posting stuff on Instagram and then not actually reading it when we're on the show. So I'm just gonna pick a few. First one says
how many is there?
64.
Oh fuck. We can't do all.
We're
those.
just picking a few. First one says, does Thomas like frogs?
That's from Chris.
Yeah.
That's to reference the video I showed you earlier.
Oh my god. Oh, I did not get that until right now. Do you like trout?
As
So the second one on here.
Did he say that too?
No, I just said that one.
I was gonna say it.
That made someone leave our Snapchat group.
I was gonna say I like frogs as much as I like trout.
So Ben Nelko, I do want to go on a little bit of a tangent about this. First of all, his comment was very rude. He said none, honestly, so he doesn't have any questions. But I did want to point out, realistically,
You know what? I got drunk with Ben Nelko.
I heard.
Did he tell you about it?
Yeah.
What did he tell you about it?
I don't remember, but
Neither does
it was the SMX after.
Yep, yep.
I remember a couple things that I can't say on here. I don't remember the things outside of that. But that was when I had to announce Mid-East the next morning, and I had to leave at 5:30, or else I would have been out there too. But he said none, honestly. But I want to ask you, honestly, do you think there's another XC1 rider that could go out and be top 5 in points in arena cross?
Arena cross or arena motocross?
Arena cross.
And yes, I do. I do think there is.
I think it'd be a pretty tough feat.
Sorry, Ben.
Ben hasn't raced arena cross since 2018, and he went out almost podium, but he's sitting 4th place in points in arena cross right now.
Arena motocross or arena cross?
Arena motocross,
Yeah.
GT.
Yeah.
But he's racing the other one.
So is that the same as super duper motocross? Super duper arena motocross?
I guess all the same guys were there. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But shout out Ben Nelko. That's still a pretty impressive feat.
Good job.
to race XC1 and then go out and do that. So, anyway, what's your plans for next year? Still doing Mid-East? That is my intention. We'll see what happens. Oh, this is an interesting question from Dylan Riddle. Did anyone get tested this year? Legit question. They put in IV testing protocols
I
this
said
year.
Testing for what?
So GNCC, I'm going
HIV?
to pee myself. So we gotta get through these. GNCC started doing IV testing this year. Said you're not allowed to be hydrated at a race. You're not allowed to do the safest thing that could help your health in this sport. You're not allowed to do the one thing that could prevent heat-related illness. You can't have an IV with saline solution. We're gonna bring on a men's clinic that gives out steroids to anybody who signs up a paper and wants it, and make them a sponsor and send out an email telling everyone that you can get drugs from our sponsor, but you cannot hydrate yourself with a saline solution.
And they're going to be the ones that test.
That's one thing that I don't care if it comes off the wrong way. I think that is complete bullshit that they are promoting a company that is giving away performance-enhancing drugs while simultaneously banning hydration IVs. I think this is going to get me fired up if I keep talking about it. But to my knowledge, nobody was tested for IVs this year.
I have no idea.
Someone was publicly accused of using an IV,
Yep.
but I don't think that they were.
That was early this year, though, right?
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good question. Of several comments about the GNCC schedule, we covered that. Who are the teams that'll be XC2 only, and which riders are bumping back from XC1 to XC2? We did cover.
We
the
did cover
potentials.
that, but I want to bring up one that I think you've definitely spoke about only having XC2 riders. There's now going to have an XC1 rider, and we spoke about it.
Yep.
Mike Witowski.
Honda.
Yep. Good for them.
Which, and now Coastal is going to have two XC1 guys. Once again, premium quality rideability. I love Beta motorcycles. They might be the only rig on Pro Row without an XC1 guy. And Magna.
Magna, depending on what they are, right? Because I think that's technically going to be factory KTM 250.
Yeah.
So do FMF factory KTM and Magna 250 factory KTM?
Still a rig without an XC1 guy.
Yep.
I don't know. I think the sport needs more people in XC1.
Stu don't think so.
A lot of it is Stu questions.
I think we answered those.
Is Bite GP in the plans for 2024?
Oh God, T-Ship. Let's not even.
Full
talk
gas
about
Woods test be more tight and technical now with new owners? Probably. But there's only gonna be like 2
I
sprint
would say
cars.
full gas.
So, Bite GP has quickly turned into something that once this podcast becomes rich and successful, we will then move into racing.
Do you know Landon Harvin?
Mm-mm.
He commented hashtag get Big Tom in the booth.
Wouldn't that be a sight to see?
Yeah.
So, what was it? Oh, Bite GP. I want to make it happen. I believe it is the future of the sport. It will happen one day. I don't think we're going to have enough support to do it in 2024, so I don't want to get everyone's hopes up and do it. I got some big things in the plan as far as Up to Something season goes with the podcast. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to self-sustain, starting our own race series. That is the goal. But right now, I got to focus on what is in front of me, and I got to focus on how to make a living doing this podcast. We have crazy numbers, and a lot of people that listen to it don't know how, but I'm very thankful that you do, and I'm very appreciative of your support. So right now the focus is on growing the podcast and turning this into something sustainable, and then using that to leverage getting into the racing world. So Bite GP is shelved for the time being, but it will happen eventually. I just gotta get everything else figured out first. Figure out how to keep the lights on at this place and keep growing. And so thank you all for the support. Really means a lot. Appreciate your time listening to OTP. Tom, appreciate your time coming in and chatting with us. I think it was a really good conversation, really long conversation. We'll see who makes it through it. Everyone at Racer TV, I love you. BetaUSA.com.
Love them too.
Love you guys. Yeah. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
What are your last words?
Thanks for having me. That was fun.